Okay, we are live. Hello, everybody out there who may be tuning in. Welcome to session number 13 for On the Rise, our Egyptian-themed Dungeons and Dragons game campaign that is set in a world of mine that I created called Rostfin, and this is going to be 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. If you're starting here, which would be an odd place to start, I suggest you go back to session 1 and start from there. But if not, then by all means, proceed with your plan of craziness and your mayhem. Who cares? So yeah, a couple of things before I let everybody do their introductions. This is an adult channel. These themes and things that we'll get into sometimes very border. That's the word I was looking for. A little insight into my brain. Borders the mature sometimes. And so if that kind of stuff bothers you, make sure that you head on out, because the language will certainly turn blue here in just a minute, as if it was choking. So before we do get started, I'll go ahead and pitch it over to my players. And let's do Trevor first.
Oh man, start with me. No, you should. I just been flashed on camera. Session 13, the end of everything, right? Since everybody views it as a unlucky number.
Only if it was Friday.
It's Tuesday. Close enough. Okay, so I'm playing a character named Rith von Schwarzenomen. Last session, he went from just a druid to a druid/warlock when his power suddenly awoke after Khalid's death. Yes, Khalid was killed last session. For anybody who missed it, watch session 12. I have nothing to promote other than my well-being, and thank you, mailman, because it's rough out there right now.
That is true. And though, Trevor, you are not my mailman, thank you anyways, in all seriousness. You guys are ridiculously busy all of the time. Speaking of ridiculously busy, Mike, you're up.
Speaking of ridiculously busy, what's that supposed to mean?
It's called a segue, Michael. Just roll with it.
Okay. Yeah, I am still repairing my house from the hurricane, so I figured that's what you were talking about. I wasn't planning on talking about that, but thank your sheetrockers as well, because they work really hard, because that is me, because I did all the goddamn work myself. But anyway, my name is Michael. I'm playing Noctos. He is a desert dwarf in Rostfin called the Mahan. He is from I don't even remember the clan name anymore. It was like a year ago that we came up with that, and I lost it whenever Mythweavers updated all of their stuff. So just going to keep going on from there. He hates the Scorpion clan, but Yabala, his deity, the water goddess, has kind of put him on a different path now. So he's kind of forgotten about all of that. And we've now got a new group of people that are still pursuing that goal. So I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent, excellent. I apologize for any background noise that I have. There is actually another Dungeons & Dragons game going on concurrently to this one in the room behind me. So if it gets a little crazy, I guess they're rolling well. So we'll move right along here. Eli, you're up.
Hello, everyone. I am Eli Kurtz. I play games all over the place, I guess. I haven't in a while, though, because I was busy getting married and going on my honeymoon. Lots of fun. Very glad to be back. And I just want everybody to know that my love for them is still really strong, but my addiction to Gloryhammer has subsided. I'm on a good path now, so glad to be feeling good. Otherwise, I will be playing Shava of the Shifting Sands. She is a desert elf called a Navendar, something like that. I can't remember. And she is kind of roguish, but she's got these strange powers over sand and powers of prophecy and that sort of thing. And she was really rattled this past time. This guy that she just met all of a sudden is dead, but she made a nice, pretty sand mandala around his corpse, and she's soldiering on.
As must we all. Yeah, so that brings us to Baron.
What's up, everybody? I'm Baron. I'm from RWD Gaming. We do videos like this, mostly like this anyway. I'm playing Vot, the Naga. I am relatively new to the party, and I don't necessarily know if I've earned a spot here yet, given the light of the last game. So hopefully we can decipher that for this one.
Poor Vought. Yes. Last time we were with these characters, they had stumbled across 2 sand ships in the middle of the Kurundu Desert. Now they are kind of been making their way northward to try to find a place called the Tombs of Dashara, where many heroes and kings and whatnot are buried. And the Naga are the known protectors of this. There's a word for it, necropolis, if you will. And last time, whenever they stumbled across these 2 ships on their way to that location, they ended up boarding one of them, who was full. It was full of slaves who were fighting their former masters, and 2 enemies of the parties. One named Kaliba, a pirate slaver who left them in the desert for dead, and a man by the name of the Ink of Mashiba, who was a known assassin and a one-time friend of the rogue in the party, Khalid, or the other rogue in the party. A pretty crazy battle ensued where there was lots of fighting between these 2 ships. But in addition, a friend of the parties, or an acquaintance of the parties, I should say, an ancient blue dragon by the name of Bireshadjet, had paid them visit once more. And she apparently had come to claim her treasure hoard, which was still in the belly of the ship of Kaliba. So she took the ship and began to fly away, not before leaving a parting present to the party. And unfortunately, the Ink of Mashiba managed to slip the perceptions of the party and mingle in with the remaining slaves under a magical disguise. And when night fell and there was only one person left on watch, he plunged a sword into the heart of Khalid. And Khalid did not survive such an ordeal. So hopefully, on cue, would you look at that? I couldn't have planned that any better. Hello, Jeff. I'll let you do your intro here in just a second. We are recounting the end of the ballad of Khalid. He passed away, and his friends fought valiantly to avenge his death. And there was a very somber funeral that was held afterwards for Khalid, not for the Ink of Mashiba so much. But both of their waters were taken, a process called phremenesis that the Baklans use to reclaim the water of someone. And you guys are now kind of on a ruined and broken sand-sailing ship in the middle of the Kurundu Desert with a small handful of slaves called Windcallers that are left with you. And yeah, we're going to get into that in just a second. But before we do, Jeff, would you go ahead and do your intro, please?
Yes, I'm Jeff. I have a YouTube channel called Encounter Balance, a podcast that I do with my friend Jeremy here, as well as Chad Nick, called The Dudes of Yore. So feel free to check all that out. And I am playing a new character because my last one is dead, and we will find out more about all that.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, and there should be a description to everybody's video that was mentioned down in the below the video here, as well as a link to the Dudes of Yore. If you want to check us out, please do so and tell us what you think. Give us a like, comment, subscribe. You can do those things for this channel too if you'd like. So, yeah, I think we're about to ready here to get started. Jeff, I will try to roll us forward quick enough to not leave you sitting there too long. But yeah, we'll get into this here. Anybody have any questions before we start? Anything I missed in the recap? Words of love and affirmation. No, you're a rough
That
guy.
kind of group, man.
All right, here we go. So I think the camera is once more over the Kurundu Desert. Just that kind of dual color that only really the desert has. You have orange and you have gray, sand and shadow. Mostly just the sun-baked lands that stretch for miles in every direction as far as you can see, only occasionally broken by rocky outcroppings or sandstone ruins that are difficult to decipher because they're all but buried. Suddenly, a different color enters the view, the painting we have before us. This one is purple. A purple shadow passes over the land, difficult to decipher in shape because of the way the shadows of these dunes break up the landscape. But soon you realize it is a winged shape, an enormous serpentine shape. And we see the body of Bireshadjet, the blue dragon, known as the Glassblower, lower into frame, carrying in her front claws a former sand sailing ship, one whose mast had been broken off and whose hull had more than just a couple holes in it. Its planks are scorched with lightning marks. We follow Bireshadjet for a moment and then pull away, out over the desert, where we see another ship in much the same kind of condition. But it appears that her spine has been broken. Her keel is damaged and is snapped. And in the small amount of shade and shadow that is produced by this secondary sand ship, we see our heroes. At least 4 of them. What are you guys all up to on this morning after the funeral that you held for Khalid?
Shava is up before everyone else. She greets the sunrise. Wait, is it? It's the morning after, right? You said?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. She wakes up before everyone else, and she's there when the sun rises. She's meditating near the ship, and she's watching the sands blow across the desert. And her face is a mask of shock and uncertainty. But as she's watching the sand, her face gradually grows more resolved, and you can see it shifting as the sand shift out there. But otherwise, she's silent and minding her own business. And for what it's worth, I would like this to be my lesser portent for the day. So I'm going to go ahead and roll a d20 and record that. I got an 18.
As Shiva's sitting there watching, the sand shift, she sees Noctos emerge from the sand sailing ship. As a good Mahan, he goes out and starts collecting even more of the gold that had fallen from the vessel that the Glassblower had brought away. Just kind of mindlessly combing through the desert. And he's actually very proficient at it. Like he can sense it from like a magnet. He just goes from one gold piece to the next.
Anyone else?
But it's probably rather sluggish to come out of the vessel. Or actually, I might have been out the whole time. I don't know if the slaves were too comfortable with me sleeping in there. Maybe using like the melted gold formation as like the wind block for me. I'm sure there's some sort of like nook or something that I've managed to coil up into. And as the sun kind of hits me, I don't move. Just kind of absorbing the heat to kind of motivate me through the day to day, warm my blood, if you will. Probably hear Noctos kind of thud into the dirt, sand as he goes to look for more gold, but you know, I'm not stirring too much. Rather somber this morning.
It's a perfect description of a snake waking up in the morning.
Yeah. Okay, my turn. Since everybody else went. Rith is probably going to be one of the last people to wake up because he didn't sleep so well considering the events of the previous night. As a matter of fact, he didn't finally go to sleep until his body succumbed from the grief and the loss of everything, as well as the overwhelming excitement of his new abilities. So, you know, he comes out from below deck, not really feeling it, just, you know, feeling a bit zombified himself. Like he should be among the rest of the undead that he's been spending a lot of time around lately. He doesn't say anything to anyone, but stares squinty-eyed out at the horizon, mix of tired and blinded by the sunlight. Watches Noctos picking up his gold, kind of shakes his head like, dwarves.
And Noctos. Actually, this question would be for any of you. The water that you have been sustaining yourselves on, where do you imagine that would have come from? Would your character be handling the fermentasis of the two individuals that were taken the previous day?
Where is it located?
No. Just would you be drinking from one or the other, or not caring and doing both?
Both.
Specific way that you are drinking this water?
Noctis would be drinking both, undiscriminating.
Vought probably would drink from the Ink's water a little bit more for like a survival purpose. Whereas like if I was, you know, going into battle or preparing for a warrior-esque challenge, I would choose Khalid. But I mean, I'm pretty sure I had a water skin to begin with. So
yeah, definitely.
Would I have
there's enough
I have
vessels and things that on the ship that, I mean, there's definitely plenty of places to put the water.
Gotcha. So yeah, I mean, I probably would have put the Inks right in with my normal canteen, and then Khalid's would have been separated.
Okay. And doing some research, I actually had not ever done this before, but doing some research, apparently an average size adult human has about 14 gallons of water in their body at any given moment. So you guys have plenty of water from these two individuals.
Yeah, I would like to just scrap everything I just said and say that probably considering they were both good warriors, I would also be indiscriminate now that I think about
it. Seeing the others drinking from the water left over from last night's ritual, Rith looks at two flasks, or he pulls two flasks out of his pack and examines them. He had made sure to carefully label them so he knew which was which when he received them. And he looks at the one from Khalid. He takes a swig of that, and he swishes it around, and he savors it. He looks at the ink of Mishibas, pours it out on the deck of the ship next to him. Like, I can make better water with my own magic. Puts the flask back in his pack.
So Shava hasn't spoken since the middle of the night when Khalid was killed. She hasn't spoken since the burial. And she hasn't drank any of the water yet either. But after she gets done meditating in the morning, she walks over to where the water is stored. And I imagine they're in two big sacks that are like tied onto camels or something, you know, because there's a lot of it. And she has an empty flask with her, and she puts a little bit of Khalid's water in first, and then she puts a little bit of the ink of Mishiba's water in second, because even though she hasn't spoken much, she's heard the stories or whispers about how there was a connection between Khalid and the ink of Mishiba. And it's something that she's struggled to understand. And she's, like I said earlier, seemed really uncertain. But as she comes over and she fills up this flask, she is still definitely weakened, but she's got a resolve hidden underneath all that uncertainty. And she takes a drink of both, and she points out toward the horizon, and she says, actually right toward the tombs of Dashara, and she says, "This is where we are headed, yes?" Toward the horizon over there. There's something that we are looking for, yes?
The home of my people, the tombs of Dashara.
I have watched the sands this morning. There will be someone we meet over there on our way. But I do not know any more.
Well, hopefully they have better tidings for us than we've received recently.
She kind of cracks a smile, and she narrows her eyes as she's looking toward the horizon, and she said, "I have seen portents of good things as well."
A good omen
And
indeed.
then and then the look fades as she sees Noctos, because Noctos, you have known Khalid for a little while too, right? I know Rith has, but I can't remember if you did too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe you were one of the people that she got most information from, kind of listening in on snippets of conversation and stuff. And so her face falls again when she sees you, and she's like, "But it will be a long way to go."
Then we better get started.
Yes. And
Was it Vought? I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Vought, you have our heading, no?
I know where we're going, but it is definitely a matter of getting there.
Well, we have the ship, so that should make it much easier. Has anyone talked to the slaves to see if they are still willing to produce the wind?
Well,
as Noctis apparently had failed to realize up until this point, as the silence kind of falls amongst the rest of the group when he mentions still having this ship, he sees behind them that the shape of the ship is a little off. It's not ship shape. It actually appears to be somewhat broken. And you can see that there is some pretty significant cracking in the hull, and it would appear that the keel is actually snapped on the boat.
You should say it's keeled over.
Wait, are we all just going to let that pun slide? Is that going to go unchallenged? That was brilliant, and it was painful.
As a pun should be. So, how is it that you guys want to proceed? There is still an item in your possession that you had found that had not yet had any attention paid towards it as far as determining what it was. In addition, like I said, you have about 5 slaves, Windcallers, that are with you to kind of figure out what you want them to do or to do with them. And then there is the business that in the morning you discovered both the husk of Khalid and of the ink of Mashiba had apparently wandered away in the middle of the night, leaving footprints that trail kind of towards the north and the northwest, both of them.
As Rith was putting the empty flask and the stoppered flask of Khalid's remaining water back into his pack, he bumped the vase that he had picked up a few days back, and it fell out and rolled across the deck towards Vat.
I'm using my tail kind of as like a hand to scoop it up before it rolls off the side of the deck, and kind of like coil it at the tip of it, and go to hand it back to Rith. And this item, where did you find this? This does not look like something I've ever seen before.
This was found in the stands just outside of the corral that you were tending to when we rode off on the horses. Noctis, without my consent, creatively used me to pick it up as we rode off. We haven't had a whole lot of rest to be able to examine this item, but it did something odd when I looked at it. I noticed it's covered in these gemstones, right? And I tried to pull one off because I was running short on gemstones to feed my Haratapi. And as I pulled off a diamond, it crumbled into sand in my hand. I figured the vase is probably something worth holding onto. Just I don't have a reason why.
Maybe worth looking at it again. I don't have an eye for magic, but I'm sure someone else here might. Shava?
She takes it and looks at it for a little while, and she says, I am not sure. It is unfamiliar to me as well. But perhaps, and she rubs her head. I want to make an insight check, or maybe a religion check, to try and learn more about this thing. I don't have any spells or anything.
Do you have Arcana?
I do not. I could make an unskilled check, I guess, but...
Yeah, if you would make an Arcana, and you can use either your intelligence or your wisdom in this particular case.
Cool. Okay, my intelligence is higher, so I got a 15 total.
Okay. Because I don't think your group actually has Identify, so we'll go ahead and use this as kind of a workaround.
Cool.
So yeah, you actually do kind of realize what this item is. And I can find my own description of it. Hold, please. We are experiencing technical difficulties, but we appreciate your call.
You pushed us in the direction of this item, and you weren't even ready for us to mess with it.
Jeremy.
I was born ready. Just in this one instance, I wasn't ready fast enough.
I'm ready. Just not ready right now.
I'm ready to be ready. Okay.
You're open to readiness.
I am. What is the deal? Come on.
We already determined that.
I think at this point it's safe to assume our characters don't believe this is anything other than just a
tossed it
vase.
overboard.
She's thinking really hard. Everybody wonders if Shava.
Shava's got like a serious vein on her
She's
forehead
doing
right
this
now.
like
She's
real
thinking so
big
hard.
twirly sand thing, and she's just like meditating.
On the tip of my
And it's
tongue.
really just me like, oh, la la la. Oh, yeah, sorry. We were thinking about a thing. Hold on. Let me.
I got caught up in
This is
the
a really nice vase.
While Chava's twirling in the air, Gareth do like a deeper check using his
Shove it.
experience in the region and his ability with Arcana
Okay.
as well.
Yes, you can roll Arcana.
I'll do that. That's 23.
Wonderful.
So maybe
The
now
two of-
we'll get the info.
The two of you are able to piece together through much deliberation that takes, one would say, more time than it really should have. You discover that this item is called the Urn of Seshemsa. This brass urn seems to reflect the desert dunes, regardless of where it may be examined. And if you look closely, it appears as though a herd of some type of animal is moving across the horizon within the reflection. The exterior of this somewhat ordinarily shaped urn is bedecked with flawless gemstones. Rubies, emeralds, and diamonds glisten brilliantly from the light reflected from the brass's surface beneath them. The urn itself appears to be empty, save for a few loose grains of sand. Whenever you discover what it does, you realize that this urn has the capability of summoning mounts. When it is filled with sand, one of the gemstones may be touched as the command word Seshimsa is spoken. The sand, when poured from the urn, will coalesce and form a creature, the type of which is determined by the gemstone touched. The activated gemstone, now expended, then turns to sand and falls from the surface of the urn. A ruby becomes a riding horse. There are 20 rubies remaining when the urn is found. An emerald becomes a griffin. There are 6 emeralds remaining. A diamond becomes a giant scorpion. There are now 7 diamonds remaining. A creature summoned by this item is loyal to the person who called it forth, as well as this person's allies. Anytime that this creature is injured, sand falls away from it instead of blood. A summoned creature cannot receive healing of any kind, and at the end of each day, they suffer 1d4 points of damage as the magic holding them together slowly returns to the sands.
I need to print that on that.
That's amazing. So,
Shah?
Shesemsha, is that right?
Semsa.
Seshema. Okay, cool. Seshemsa. Seshemsa. Whew, okay.
Leviosa.
These words. We can do this. All right.
We are white people.
So I imagine Shava is like looking at it, and then Rith comes over and like takes it out and turns it over, and then she's like, "Oh, look at that!" And then Rith recognizes it too, and then they're both like, "Oh yeah," piecing it together really quietly between the two of them, and then they turn around and they relate all of the information to the party.
So, do we really need to summon the giant scorpions, though? Because I can become a scorpion, and I can walk.
But can you be ridden?
I'll ride on you.
We could take the griffins.
Who could ride on me? I mean, I'm the size of a hallway.
What kind of a rush are we in? Griffin rush?
I think we should always be in a griffin rush.
I think we're in a Griffin rush kind of mood.
I agree.
I wake up on the wrong side of the bed in the griffin rush kind of mood.
I'm pro Griffin Rush.
And then we can give the slaves some riding horses, so we're not completely bad people.
And is the intent to have them follow you, or to head back towards perhaps Baklabesh, the city that was not overrun with undead?
Well, I was saying the reason that we don't need them if we don't have a ship, so let them be free.
Yeah, I mean, we're giving them horses and a choice, which is more than they had. So
You just better ride really fast.
Okay. So you split
I
up
guess
some of the. Go ahead.
if they
Sorry.
were implied to come with us, they could. I don't know why they would want to.
If any one of you has really kind of hinted at what you're going to do, none of them are interested in following you any further.
That was kind of what I figured.
They think they'll have a better chance cutting it across the desert to try to find civilization.
Yeah, we've been pretty open about it. So
Okay, so you split up.
Nothing to do with us.
Right. So you split up some of the supplies, letting them have essentials that they'll need to make the journey, and the four of you take the possessions that you are going to tag along and enough water, and summon forth four griffins, or maybe three, and one of them can carry Vought in its no.
I was thinking one for Noctos and I.
I'm not sharing them out with you again.
All right. So four of the emeralds. You expend those. So if somebody would please mark that down, that you've used four of them.
I thought you were going to make us all say the word.
Oh, no, but you would do after Michael, if you would.
Oh, Szechuan sauce? What?
Yes, exactly. Instead of a griffin, you get a bowl of noodles. Sorry. Okay. Four griffins take off from this ruined ship now lying in the middle of the desert, waiting to be buried. And as the four of you fly northwest, given some direction by Vought and probably from Shava, you're able to eventually see a location up ahead of you. And it's a place that you have been told is kind of the first main stop on your way to the tombs of Dashara. It's a place known as the City of the Devouring Dunes. It was once, a long, long time ago, like one of the earliest human civilizations, whenever they were a unified tribe in this area, finally. The name is long lost to history, and it is now simply referred to as the City of the Devouring Dunes, presumably because it is slowly being eaten by the desert. And Vought, you would know that this is one of the places that you have to cross in order to get to the next portion of the journey. The tomb entrance, if you will, is somewhat hidden amongst the buildings here. And you know that you're looking for the old temple palace that was located in this city. And that you will have to pass through the building itself. Flying over it will not work.
So probably near the front of the pack, because she's helping to lead, Shava is going to turn back and point down at this building, this giant structure, and she's going to say, "We need to go down there." and then take her griffin down and guide the rest of them down too.
I'm going to assume that the wind is going really, really fast, and that I wasn't Noctis couldn't understand what you were saying, so he kind of leans in, but then notice that you start to dive down and just follows suit.
I picture myself probably bringing up the rear. Magical griffin or not, it's probably not used to flying with me on it, so I'm sure I was struggling to get here. And maybe as I land, I call out, if this is the temple palace, we are looking for the entrances to the passages of time. From there, we seek out the spires. And he kind of figures this is probably, a little bit more vague than you're looking for, but he knows what he's looking for, so he kind of slinks past you guys into this temple.
Just about the time when Vought is kind of beginning to cross the threshold in between the first of the statues and things that are immediately outside the entrance to this very large building. Several of you catch the sound of shifting sand. And kind of looking about, you see a small little rivulet of sand kind of trickling down the dune, not far off to your right.
Shava would turn immediately and observe with rapt attention. I don't know that there's necessarily anything to see, but like she would absolutely bore her eyes and attention into that area.
Is it happening in like an unnatural manner?
Yes, very much so. It definitely seems as if something had changed its position, or there was movement, something in that direction.
Is it clear enough to be able to see with our eyes?
No, there is a small kind of gathering, almost triangular, kind of up to a window that you're guessing at some point was probably a third, maybe even fourth floor window of kind of one of the extending buildings off to your right of this temple palace. And that is kind of where it seems to be coming from, kind of from the top, trickling its way all the way down the rather steep, kind of almost conical gathering of sand.
Aerith will squint harder to try and see with his eyes.
Okay. All of you, if you wish, since everybody's going to stand still, may roll perception. It looks like Vought and Rith, the two of you looking up. Rith apparently real hard. You do see shadow kind of within the shadow, a darker black shape. Definitely move, kind of duck out of the archway, if you will. Though none of it was actually sticking out far enough to catch sunlight, the movement apparently was enough to kind of catch your attention. Vought, you likewise saw this. There was definitely someone moving in the shadows.
I think I would see Rith look up, and I see it too, and I don't know, I wouldn't would look back down and see that Shava and Noctos hadn't seen it, and you're not alone. Be very careful with what you do. I do not know who this is that is watching us.
Would it not be one of your people protecting the tomb?
It could be. But times are troubling these days. I know not for sure.
Maybe we should get a closer look.
Is there a way to get up to this overcrop?
Yeah, although the sand leading up to several of those arched windows are steep, they're definitely climbable.
Shava will look at them and kind of nod her head and then just start the climb. I'm assuming this is like an athletics check or something.
Is there not a place for the griffins to land?
Oh. I mean, fair.
Well, yes, you can certainly land, but they wouldn't really be able to stay at the entrance for very long because the sand that runs up to the entrance is maybe 6-8 inches across, like kind of at the very top.
Okay. Well, at least for scouting to figure out what's going on.
Well, it is enclosed.
So, gotcha.
Yeah. Like if you can see in the picture over on the right-hand side, that kind of wing of that building that kind of extends out towards the corner. You see what I'm talking about here? Hang on just 1 second.
Get your mouse there.
Yeah. Can you guys see my cursor?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. This outbuilding here.
Gotcha. Okay.
These are the windows that I'm these openings that I'm kind of talking about you. It's kind of like a open air walkway almost. And here there's just more of a slope because you can tell that this looks like at one time it was, like I said, maybe the 3rd or 4th story of the building.
We can walk.
You can do what?
We
You can walk.
Just walk there.
Yes, yeah, you can.
If Shava is kind of climbing up there, I'd probably be close behind her. If they're my people, I should probably deal with them.
Okay. So Shava and Vought are kind of making their way up one of these dunes. The same dune that you saw the movement on? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Noctos, Rith, are you staying behind with the griffins or?
I'll tend to the griffins. Noctis can go if he likes.
Since Rith is staying, I'll go with them.
Okay. So the three of you kind of scale this steep slope, and just as the first of you, which I suppose would be Shava, kind of mounts the top of this, stepping onto the walkway that forms the sides of these arches, you see a figure maybe 100 feet from you on the left, so heading kind of deeper into the mountain, if you will, in a doorway. And the moment that you kind of crest into this walkway, they very quickly flatten back against the wall or into the door so that you cannot see them.
Do you see down there? There is someone or something hiding from us.
You're muted, Baron.
No, I saw nothing.
Bot's tongue would flick a couple times. No, he is there. I may not have seen him this time, but I know he is there. Come out. Whoever you are, come out. Save us the energy.
There is no reply, except for the howling of the wind and the scraping of the sands.
Shava's going to pull out her scimitar and just have it at the ready. she's pretty cagey right now.
I'll probably have my hand on my hilt just because Shava's got me on edge, pulling her sword all the way out. So, I
once
guess
she like senses your
go
presence, she's going to start moving down the hall. And then I guess, yeah, eventually just go inside the room and confront whoever's in there.
Noctis, are you just following?
Yeah.
Is your weapon also drawn?
No, I haven't seen anything, so I'm gonna.
Okay. The three of you shuffle forward a bit, and Shava, when you reach the doorway, you find that it is, in fact, a doorway only. That whatever door was here has long since rotted away, and leaving the barest hint of metal hinge work kind of embedded, bolted to the stone, and not much else. The sand has definitely blown into this doorway for some time, as the sides of the hallway that you're now looking down have that kind of collection of sand in the corner on both sides, at least probably 30, 40 feet in. And this hallway extends into the darkness well beyond that point.
And we don't see anybody there, right?
You may make a perception roll.
That would be a 24.
Just at the edge of your dark vision. I think you have dark vision, if I'm not mistaken.
I do, yeah.
And just at the edge of where things kind of fade for your ability to see, you notice that there is a individual who you think maybe dressed in like scarves almost, something very flowy and loose, as just that the ends of those kinds of garments fade at the very, very end of the field of your vision.
As if going deeper into the darkness?
Yes.
Okay. These flowing scarves and things, do they look anything at all like Khalid's costume? Outfit?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
I don't think Khalid had much in the way of like flowing scarves and things, from what I recall.
Okay. Gotcha. I thought he had like a scarf over his face, but regardless, yeah, I'm going to point down the hallway. There, do you see? And then I'm going to remember that Navendar have much better eyesight in the dark than these folks. There's something back there. I think we need to bring Rith up here.
Yes, there's no sense in diving into this maze without everyone at least with us to join. And I guess we shouldn't forget our objective of getting to the I forgot what it was called already. The Passages of Time. There's only a short journey there till we get to the home of my people.
While they're getting Rith, I want to investigate the sands themselves, like where this person would have been standing, see like the size of their foot and the shape of their print, to get any additional information that we might be able to obtain.
Absolutely. If you could, either give me a survival or an investigation roll.
I'm going to do survival. 30-20.
So, looking about, as Shava and Vod are kind of having this discussion at the doorway. You're kind of looking around where you know this person was stepping, and the prints that are left behind are almost invisible. You recognize someone who is skilled at masking their presence, knowing where to step, knowing how to drag their foot away with each step to kind of mask the passing of someone's footfalls. And these definitely bear that marking.
And then when they get back with Rith, I'll point out the best sample that I found, and kind of show them the direction that it was headed. And everybody, be careful. This individual is very light of foot. Someone that does not want to be found or seen.
Want to be seen, then he should have tried harder. Anyways, so when Shava and Vats come to find Rith, he's finishing up tying up the griffins, and he's combing their feathers and taking good care of them because he feels like they're going to be his new best buddies for at least the next month. Or until the desert sands consume them, whichever happens first. And after they come and find him, they bring Rith follows them back to the entrance of this hallway where Noctis is finishing his investigation and fills Rith in on everything that they found thus far.
And with the four of you back together again, you may even, for a moment, wonder where Khalid might be, so that the five of you may proceed. Though some of you haven't been with the party for that long, you've been with the party long enough to have somewhat gotten used to there being five of you. And it takes some of you just a second to remember that Khalid is not going to be coming. Or, more appropriately, that a form of Khalid may yet still be ahead of you. How would the four of you like to proceed?
We want to see if we can find this stalker or proceed to the passages below. Or behind, I guess. I don't know.
I say, whatever we're chasing shadows. We may as well proceed on our objective. Obviously, when they want to be found, they will find us.
This is very true and wise. I suppose just stay weapons at the ready.
But I saw in the sands there is someone that we will meet. And it could mean something good for us. I think we should investigate.
Can we not do both? Is there not a way to the main building through here, where we need to go?
No, by no means a master or really efficient in the passageways around here. I can get you loosely from A to B, but as long as we pay attention to where we're going, I don't suppose it could hurt.
Then we might be able to accomplish both objectives by going this way.
Well, Shava, your eyes are the best, to my knowledge. May you like to lead the way here?
Yes. You stay here. Let's take it slow. I will sneak ahead and observe. And then I will give you the signal to join me, okay?
After you.
Okay, so this is how I'd kind of like to handle watch order. Oh, what was that, Noctis?
Just as you were walking away, Noctis is going to bless the group, doing the three of them.
Cool.
What does that look like?
Like normal, he'll pop one of his water skins, and he's actually going to use the one with Khalid's water in it, and kind of give everybody a blessing. That way he's he's kind of looking over all of us for the day. But he'll pop the cork, kind of drink a little bit. May Khalid be with you this day and watch over you. He'll kind of wipe his hands on a piece of them, like their forehead or their shoulder or whatever he can reach, like the tip of your tail or what have you.
Okay. Oh, nice. Okay.
So, as each of you kind of feel this this water kind of washing over you, even though it's just a small amount, you recognize the symbology of the gesture, and feel the divine power kind of course through you. And you do feel a small presence of Khalid present, almost within you. And you feel a little bit of his knowledge, his ability, having seeped into your body. As I said in the chat, each one of you is not only under the effects of the Bless spell itself, but in addition, you each have plus 1d6 sneak attack damage until you take a long rest.
So here's what I'd like to do as far as marching order goes. First of all, she's feeling the inhabitants, I guess, of Khalid's spirit within her, because previously her fighting style was all about like striking out from a hiding spot, but that was because she was terrified. Now she sees the usefulness of it. She sees the tactical application of that because of this inhabitants. And so what she's doing, 30 feet ahead of her, she's casting a minor illusion that is a sand dune. And then she's sneaking up and hiding in that sand dune and observing the path ahead. And then 30 feet ahead again, she does another sand dune and sneaks up to that and then observes. And once she's traveled that 60 feet, she's going to turn back and signal everybody else for them to come up because the way is clear. And that's the general process I want to do throughout this moving down on this path.
Excellent. So as Shava kind of moves forward to give the rest of you a little bit of a leash and begins kind of crouching down low beside the wall, as you see her form kind of shimmer and shift into that of gathered sand kind of swept up against the corner of the floor and the wall. And then maybe, I don't know, a thumbs up or, a hand like kind of extends out of this illusory sand and beckons you forward. Who is the next to make their way down the hall?
I mean, I'll go, but I figured I'll cover the rear.
I was thinking have the big snake go, but if you want to cover rear, absolutely. Rith and Noctos can follow. You want to go first, Rith, or?
Yeah, let me go. Let me go before you.
Good.
That way, if something attacks Shava, I can hit him with magic at range.
So it'll be Rith and then Noctos and then. Shit.
Bringing up the rear.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So this odd little game of hide and seek, if you will, proceeds down this hallway, and there's very little that you see of note. There are a few rooms that you kind of come across, doorways that kind of lead off of this this initial hallway, but they lead into small rooms that have nothing but sand in them. You see a couple of places where there are scorch marks that definitely looks like there have been fires that this has definitely been used by someone as a camp. But you see nothing else that really draws your attention. But as you move deeper, some of the room gets a little larger, and you come across one before the hallway kind of seems to bend to the left, back towards what you know in the direction of, at least, is the rest of the temple complex. And this larger room that you've stumbled across has a larger, more recent campsite set up in it. There's actually still wood and smoldering embers that are present in the campfire in the center of this space. And there's several bedrolls that are laid out. You see 3 of them, in fact, all of which are empty. Just as you're kind of looking about the entrance to this room, I need all 4 of you to make dexterity saving throws, please. Okay, we've got a 9, a 1, a 9, a 9, a 1, a 10. Oh, okay. So, everyone failed, as from the wall, a false illusion of brickwork falters for but a moment, as what looks kind of like a gate filled with spikes that are about a foot long swings forward and slams into all of you, pinning you against the wall opposite of the open doorway. Each one of you is going to take 9 points of piercing damage. And if it wasn't clear in the description, you are also restrained against the wall currently, with these spikes still in you.
So, too late, Shava is going to realize that in the mandala she saw in her mind as she meditated in the sands this morning, the border had these really sharp spikes all around it, right? She could not figure out what that meant beyond vague danger, right? But it turns out it was this exact moment, and they pierce her leg and like pin her to the wall, and she screams out in pain.
What direction did you say this came from as we walked in the room? Was this like behind us?
So essentially all of you stepped foot kind of in the opening of the door into this room, and it came out of the wall more or less kind of beside you and just scraped along the hallway. The length of it, or the width of this thing, basically covers one side of the hallway to the other, and has now pinned you against the wall, opposite the open door.
So, yeah, as this thing kind of hits me, there's like the clank of my mail against the wall that we're pinned against, and my tail is kind of still on the other side of the doorway as I was bringing up the rear. So maybe I'm hurt, but I've been hurt worse. So I'm seeing the discomfort of my party. I'm trying to heave this off as best I can for my position. I picture it's probably like awkwardly trying to pick something up with your foot not underneath you.
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks like Vought is going to be trying to kind of push this away from the group. So Vought, you're going to need to make an athletics check as of right now, because of several of these spikes piercing your body in an odd position, you're going to need to make that at a disadvantage. Unless, of course, someone wishes to attempt to help.
Yeah, if he's not able to do it, then Noctos will be like, as one, everyone push together. But he's going to wait to see if he's able to.
Okay, so roll it with disadvantage first.
I use a point of inspiration to negate that disadvantage?
Yes, you absolutely can.
I'm getting like the whole can't let my party down a second time strength.
Yeah, I love it. That a not again determination.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
18 on the die. I think I'm good with athletics. Yeah, +5. So I'm at a 23 with that one.
And because of the old age of this spring, though it was effective at catching you all off guard, you're able to kind of push this heavy gate back open to the length of your arms, which is wide enough for everyone to slip out from underneath it.
I'm kind of straining with it, like, go, get out, go.
Yeah, when Noctos gets out, he's going to take his halberd and kind of prop it into place. That way Vought can get out himself.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. It still takes a little bit of you kind of leaning against the weight of it, if you will, and to hold it in place, it takes a little bit more oomph than you might have expected. But it's definitely enough that you have all now exited this booby trap.
And as I pass by, I kind of, put my arm on Noctos' shoulder. Thank you. I could not have held that much longer. And as I do, there's one of the surface wounds that had been inflicted from this thing kind of dripping onto his mail. And it's like, sorry.
So as he touches Noctos, some of the water skin that got pierced by that spike, the water starts trickling up Noctos onto his shoulder and then onto Vought's hand. And you're going to get 8 points of healing.
It kind of meets the blood there in the middle and viciously takes over that bloodstream, kind of sealing the wounds that I had received. That's sick. Hell yeah.
Excellent. Yes, absolutely. All four of you can have a point of inspiration for some of these fantastic ideas that you guys have had so far. And as you're kind of checking one another over, all of you, if you'd like, may roll perception checks. This time at disadvantage. Okay, so Vought and maybe oh wow. Okay, so Vought, you are fairly certain that you have just heard whispering coming from where the corner kind of bends and the hallway extends back towards the rest of this temple. Noctos, you just rolled 2 20s on a roll with disadvantage, which is
Never happens for me.
So you actually hear, I think the trap may have killed them. Don't be a fool. Each one of them had, it looked like much magical gear. There's no way that trap finished them off. We must be patient.
Noctos is going to put up his hand and as quietly as he can say that there's at least 2 of them, and one of them thinks we might be dead from the trap.
Ruth is going to whisper, You should lay me in the doorway. I think I'm the most wounded looking right now.
So do we want to lay a trap or just go and find them?
I'm
Wait.
the bot's not much for traps, if anything, but that's not to say you guys aren't. So bot would quietly draw his sword. It's like when you're trying to pull it out and it's obnoxiously loud the whole way.
So, I'm looking at minor illusion here, and it says I can create a 5-foot cube. Does that mean it could be like 10 feet long and 2.5 feet tall too?
I think it's 5 by 5 feet.
Yeah, the way
and
I see silence working is it's almost more like a radius. It's like a
no. I'm
like a
talking
sphere.
about minor illusion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Minor illusion can create silence. Is that what you're asking?
No, it says that it can create an object no larger than a 5-foot cube.
Oh.
But can that shape be like molded? Could it be 10 feet long and 2.5 feet tall? You know?
Within reason, I would say.
Okay. Because basically, like, whereas before I was creating a sand dune that was like a chunk and I would run and hide in that. Instead, I want to create one that's smaller, but it's like long. And so I can army crawl through it toward wherever that sound came from.
Okay, excellent.
Cool. All right. So I'm going to do that. And would that give me like a maybe advantage on my stealth or something to sneak over?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, so go ahead and roll that out. And yes,
Cool.
You absolutely will qualify for advantage.
Awesome. So I got 23.
And as Shava once again kind of takes on the look of collected sand in one of these hallways and begins to almost move like Vought, like down the dimensions of this room or this hallway. What are the rest of you doing?
Probably assisting Noctos and looking at Rith, make sure he's all right. Kind of like examining the design of this trap a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna heal Rith up some. I don't think I have a healer's kit or anything on me. Just have to use magic.
Basically, it didn't sound like they were too threatening if they were, expecting this trap to deal with intruders. So, kind of just waiting for Shava's call on this one.
Okay. So as Noctos is kind of healing Rith, and Vought is inspecting this trap mechanism, marveling at perhaps the sheer technology and engineering that is shown in something so old. Shava, you move forward down the hallway to where it ends, and the room opens up quite a bit. This hallway dead ends into this room, and it's got kind of a large arching opening. It's decorative, and inside the room you can tell that at one point this was probably a exceedingly large space. This room was probably 50 foot by 100 foot at one time, but is now mostly half filled with sand, as you can see sunlight coming in through a broken portion of the roof. And there is a small pile of coin, judging by the shimmer, and stuff kind of in the middle of the room. And there are two huddled individuals that appear to be quietly sorting through it, perhaps. And though one of them has his face turned in your direction, he doesn't seem to have noticed you.
How far away are they?
From where you currently are, they're about 40 feet away.
Okay. And there are just the two of them, right?
Yes, at least that's all that you see.
Okay.
There were definitely more than 2 bedrolls in the room that you saw before.
Yeah, we saw 3 in there. Boy, I think I'm scared. I've seen death. So I'm going to creep back around the corner out of sight if I can and go get backup.
Okay. So whenever Shava returns and kind of informs you all of the situation, what do you wish to do from there?
Playing off of Shava's suggestion of minor illusion, Rith starts thinking of a plan to possibly lure these guys away from whatever they're doing so that we can sneak in behind them for an attack. My idea involves, you know, I can cast an illusion of a 5-foot square. I happen to fit within that 5-foot radius because I'm so small. So I'm thinking of casting possibly the sound of my corpse hitting the floor on the other side of the doorway. Like I was thrown in there by the trap, and let them walk over to it and we can come into the doorway and get them from behind.
Yes, there is cunning in this plan, and I could conjure sand to cover me and strike from my hidden place if need be.
And Rith, what would you have me do?
I was hoping you and Vot would stay out in the hallway on either side of the doorway and wait.
So it shall be. Noctis will start as quietly as Noctis does, getting into position.
So the plan is then for Noctis and Vought to kind of flank the door at the end of the hallway where these 2 individuals are inside of. And then Shava is to assume the form of sand once again, move through the door, and then Rith is supposed to create a sound of a body, like falling to the floor.
Preferably a sound and a visual effect.
Into the room where they are.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see. You are using... What is the spell you're using to do the illusion?
Minor illusion?
Yeah, I don't know that you can do both of those with minor illusion because it's a cantrip. I think you have to choose either visual or auditory. Yeah.
Noctis with thaumaturgy can do like whispers and stuff, so he can do sound.
Okay. So Noctis will provide the auditory cue of a sound of a body hitting the ground. Rith, you will do the visual.
That I will. we'll try to confuse them like we did with the Mahan way back when.
Excellent. Okay.
Or is it
the first thing, Mahan. That is the desert dwarf.
That one's, yeah.
Well, the Magrin are the specific tribe, the scorpion tribe.
Okay.
So what I will need from each one of you, Shava and Rith, you will have advantage on this because of the aid of Shava's magic. Vought and Noctis, this will just be a naked roll for you. I'm looking for stealth checks, please. Please keep in mind if your armor gives you disadvantage for stealth. Apply that. Shove it with the stealth. Not, not too bad.
I am the sands.
You literally are right now, or at least illusionary. Illusionary. I can't even say that word.
Illusionary.
Illusory. Okay, so everything seems to be going fine. And about 10 paces or so from the doorway, Noctos, you misstep, place your foot on part of the collected sand at the corner of the hallway, and you almost roll your ankle under your weight. And in order to stop yourself, you reach out and grab a hold of the wall to the best of your ability, which basically just slams your chainmail glove against the sandstone wall as it kind of leaves these scrape marks that are about 8 inches long. And it definitely creates a decently loud noise.
And the other hand whacks Rith across the face as he's trying to catch his balance.
So everything goes quiet. There's the dead silence. It lasts for a few moments. And then you hear scuffling in the room. And it is followed by another bout of silence.
Chris is going to go ahead and cast his minor illusion to put a corpse on the floor in reaction to Noctos' sound.
Excellent.
Give me. I'm going to cast my thaumaturgy, and I want to try to add with the thud, like the sound of chainmail, like moving as the corpse moves and falls to the ground.
Excellent. Okay. So adding this bit of impromptu-ness to the casting of the spell, go ahead and, if you would please, make a deception roll, both of you. Rith, since you were preparing to do this, you can have advantage. Noctos, because you are having to kind of adjust things on the fly, you will have disadvantage. And a ghostly form of Rith stumbles forward, almost leaving Rith's body, and stumbles forward a couple of steps, looking wounded, and collapses to the floor with a sound from Noctos that emulates the sound of chainmail against stone, the sound that he just made in the hallway outside, and adds a small ooh. There's more shuffling in the room. And then you hear, that's definitely one of them. Go check him, see if he's alive. Very well. And a figure stirs in the shadows of the room beyond and begins moving towards the ghostly fake corpse of Rith.
As soon as they're separate, because you said one of them hangs back, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so as soon as they separate, the guy who's walking toward the corpse, taking his eyes off of the other dude. So Shava is going to use her, what is this called? Her cunning action No, I don't need to. I'm just gonna leap at this guy in the back, and I want to attack him. Can I do sneak attack with non-lethal damage?
Yeah, theoretically. Yeah,
Okay.
you just basically declare that you're trying to do non-lethal damage, and all of it goes. It essentially pulls from the same pool. It's just if they hit 0 hit points from it, then they go unconscious rather than die. So,
gotcha. Okay, yeah. In that case, then I've got my scimitar drawn, and I'm going to leap out of the sands. And so my right palm has this glass orb in it, right? And it's what she's been using as she goes through the sands. It's what causes the sands to rise up around her. Like earlier when they were going up the steep slope, this glass orb in her palm would like solidify the sand, so it was a lot more like she was climbing on a rock face than anything else. And she's using that, and it's like pushing her. It's causing the sand beneath her to launch her across the room at this guy. A sneak attack. So I have advantage. That means I rolled twice on the attack roll too, right?
that is where you apply the advantage, yeah, to the attack roll.
Cool. Wonderful. All right. So here's my roll. Oh, shit. That's a 19 to hit.
Yes, a 19 will absolutely make contact with this person. As you can see him clearer now, he's kind of stepped forward. You see that has like tattered sashes and things that kind of trail behind him.
Nice. And that's also 19 damage.
And that will certainly be enough to kill him.
Okay, nice. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm leaping toward him, right? And I imagine it's mostly silent. There's the sound of sand settling or something, or like sand wind. And she just flies at this dude and hits him right in the head with the butt of her rapier, knocks him out. And when she does, she's got her palm held out, and this green orb flashes in his face. And he sees would have come to him if she had had her rapier turned the other way around instead. Scimitar, sorry. But yeah, she knocks him out cold, and then she lands on her hands and knees, or crouched down, ready to go after the guy who just left. Go.
And as you land, if you would please roll percentile dice.
Percentile, okay. I got a 100.
Okay.
That's fun.
You land on the floor, and you hear a cracking noise beneath you.
Oh.
You need to make a dexterity saving throw, please.
Dexterity, you
Yes,
said?
sir.
Okay.
You still have the bless if you didn't use it on the last one, if you need.
I didn't, and I will, because I just rolled a 2. Wait, if I use bless now and then I just decide I want to use advantage, does that mean I gave up my bless?
Bless applies to all of your saving throws and all of your attack rolls until Noctis loses concentration on it. I think it's concentration based. Maybe it's not.
That's amazing.
Oh, I
Okay.
didn't realize it was that good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. Well, in that case,
Bless is an amazing
let's
first
see
level
here.
spell. Every cleric should take it.
I did not roll for the damage that I took on the trap.
Well, Jeff is saying that he doesn't think it is concentration, and that very well may be.
Well, it is concentration. It's 1 minute or until concentration is broken. So depending on how long ago we cast it, I don't know if it would be going, but if it was, then it's active for every roll.
Yeah, it should definitely still be going. So yeah.
Okay.
Well, roll for your damage. Noctis to make sure that it is actually still going.
I rolled a 1, so it's gone.
Oh, okay. So unfortunately, when Noctis took the damage from the trap, it went away.
Okay. Well, I'm going to spend an inspiration to roll this d20 again because I rolled a 2, and I can do better than that. Yes, a natural 20. Oh my god. This dice has been so hot and cold all night. It's ridiculous.
So, as the decorative tiling of the floor beneath you, where you land, cracks ever so slightly and shifts and falls away beneath you. How do you avoid falling with it?
Well, so what I imagine is that the tile underneath me is nonetheless coated with sand, a layer of sand, right? And the floor falls out from beneath me, but the sand that my glass orb is still touching all of a sudden becomes like a cross between a net and a trampoline, and it just barely like stops my momentum, and then I'm able to push off of it to like roll just to the side of where this hole opened up.
Excellent. And who is next to spring into action? We can go ahead and roll initiative if you guys would like, or we can just take this first round one at a time.
Well, if I had successfully snuck up next to the door, I'm probably going to try and grab this guy that walked through with a grapple.
Can I help with that? Take the help action?
To grab which guy?
There was the guy that was coming through to check the illusionary body.
Mhm.
To my knowledge, we had both kind of set ourselves up on either side of the door
yes,
to
I see.
grab someone. So I'm just kind of, going to grab an arm, and Noctos is going to grab an arm, and we're going to apprehend this guy.
Okay. Yeah, so both of you kind of step out from the doorway, flanking this individual. And both of you, if you would, give me percentile rolls. Noctos, you got a 74. I have to call bullshit. Oh, no. I'm sorry. On the percentile roll. I thought that was on your... I thought that was on your roll.
We're known for high dice rolls.
No, my initiative was an 8. That's
All those hundreds.
Oh my god! I was like, come on, man. I thought it was just a missed
It's no
keystroke.
165.
Okay,
asshole.
so that's me. So, Noctos, you will need a dexterity saving throw, please.
Awesome. I'm good at those.
Vought, you have managed to successfully grab a hold of this individual. And we'll see what happens with Noctos.
I got an 8.
An 8. Okay. Noctos, however, you step to kind of flank position this individual. And all of a sudden, the floor beneath your feet gives way. You fall about 10 feet or so. You take 3 points of bludgeoning damage as you impact the sand that is gathered in the space kind of below this. And immediately realize that the sand that you have landed in is moving, kind of in a downward conical motion towards a point that's kind of in the center of this space. And it is beginning to drag you towards that sunken spot in the middle. But, as I said, you have a hold of this individual, and he seems quite shocked to see you.
Well, I have this person. What do I plan to do with them? I guess, is this floor like just falling apart from the room that they were in? Like it's kind of like tiling out?
It's not the whole thing, but there's definitely parts that are, you would say maybe half of it, give or take. Seems to be starting to kind of shift and fall.
I'm gonna try and like. Honestly, I want to throw this guy in the hole and try and get Noctos out. Just like shove him in. Well, I probably shouldn't do that. I'm gonna hit him. I'm gonna hit the guy. I'm gonna just like kind of come across and club him in the back of the head with my sword hilt.
I believe one of the things that you get racially is that you can grapple and still have your hands free, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think we did talk about that.
Because of your tail.
Yeah.
So you can go ahead and strike and have advantage on that attack roll.
Oh, right on, right on. Which is solid because my first roll was a 6. Second roll is a 15 on the die. First roll a 20.
15 will make contact. But roll up your damage.
Total of 6. So I just kind of like cuff him in the back of the head. Maybe this he was a little bit closer than I anticipated when I grabbed him, so didn't have enough time to separate the two, and I just kind of I hit him across the head for 6 points of damage.
And these guys are actually minions, so that still is actually enough to knock him unconscious.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad I didn't have to say that. That's kind of the way I was going. I wasn't trying to kill him.
Based on your description, I figured that's what was going on. But he kind of slumps to the floor, somewhat hanging kind of off of this hole that Noctos just fell into. And Rith, I don't believe you've had any action yet. Let's get an action from you, and then we will move into initiative order.
Okay, so both the guys in the room are knocked out unconscious. Noctos is in a hole, and the other two are all right.
Seems to be the long and short of it for the moment, at least.
Long and short of it. That's funny. Trying to think what a 3.5 foot tall gnome could do to help Noctos down at the bottom of a 10-foot hole.
But yeah, Noctos is screaming, Shava, your shifting sands are trying to eat me!
Is there any sturdy structure nearby that I could tie the end of a rope to, perhaps?
All of the building that is around you seems to still be made of sandstone. Your guess is that there are parts of it that are structurally sound, and chances are that there are parts that might not be so structurally sound.
How quickly would it take Rith to determine the structural integrity of any part of the building, and how efficiently?
Not too long.
We're talking about, so probably a while.
I would say you could probably call it an action.
Okay. But then I said I'd be able to toss the rope to Noctos down below.
Probably not. Probably not toss him, because you're kind of uncoiling it from your pack and also judging kind of whether or not this is a structurally sound thing while trying to tie the rope around it. That would probably constitute your turn, I would say.
That's what we'll do. At least get it tied off and make sure it's nice and secure before somebody grabs it or to knock it, whatever happens first.
Okay.
So Rith is going to find, we'll just say there's like a pillar in this room or something. It used to be, but it's crumbled away some, so Rith can reach up and get the rope around it with a little difficulty. Tie it off in the best knot that he learned while being aboard a ship. He's had to tie a few knots and some rigging himself. So he ties it nice and secure as best he can around this crumbled pillar and prays to Yabala, in fact, for the first time ever, hoping that this pillar is structurally sound enough to support Noctos' weight. Was that 300 pounds?
Excellent. So you've now thrown caution to the wind, hoping that faith in Noctos' goddess will bring you luck, or at least maybe some divine favor, as you loop this rope hurriedly around this broken column piece. and then begin trailing the other end of it towards where Noctos is in a hole. If you would please, roll me percentile with advantage. So you'll just tell me both of them, and I'll determine which one's the best for you to use. $12 and 84. Okay. So Rith ties this rope off, turns, and flees. And he pretty much just abandons the attention that he had on this pillar as he turns to hurriedly make his way towards Noctos. And working this fast, under these kinds of conditions in the desert, we see a bit of sweat sling off of Rith. But we stay with the sweat as he hurriedly kind of passes out of camera range. And we see the sweat kind of linger in the air for a moment before it falls downward, collecting in a glob on the top of the rope and running along the top surface of the rope, gathered together without dripping or falling off. And just as it does so, we see an inaudible shift in the pillar as a large chunk of it begins to slide free, which we instantly see would loosen this rope to the point where it would come unattached. But the water reaches the pillar just in that moment and moves in between the two chunks of stone, freezing into solid ice and locking this sliding piece in place. Okay. I have initiatives from Vought and I need initiatives from everyone else. 8 was your initiative, Noctis? Okay, cool. So I still need Shava and 23 for Riff. Okay, and 50. Okay. So, Rith, you are up first. So you have just secured this rope and are now heading towards the edge of the hole where Noctos is.
Hurriedly, of course. I don't even notice what's going on behind me as I'm charging towards this hole to toss this rope down to try and help Noctis out of his. Looking for a good pun here. Trying to help him out from the bottom of this pit. Got nothing. Now, Rith, having planned this far, comes to the realization that he's not strong enough to lift anybody out of a pit by himself. So he looks up at Vought expectantly for an assist in dragging Noctis out from the bottom of this hole.
And I believe Vought would probably take the end of the rope from you, realizing the situation, and begin, I don't know, perhaps lowering it down to Noctos?
I mean, I've got the lowering down part. It's the lifting back up part that I need help with.
Very well. So Vought kind of grabs a hold of the rope that has been handed to him by Rith. And what comes next, Rith? Are we doing gnome fishing?
Gnome fishing?
Yes, with you as bait, trying to hook a fish.
Oh, no. I was lowering it down so that Noctis could grab the rope.
I see. Standing on the edge of the opening, lowering the rope downward.
Yeah, I'm not jumping in there.
Fair enough. Okay, so yeah, you lower the rope down, and it kind of hits the sand and kind of leaves a little bit of a trench as the sand kind of swirls around, slowly sinking, and you can watch where it kind of meets the wall in this place, that it is kind of slowly draining from this room. Suddenly, the room all about you comes to life, with more of these red shielded individuals brandishing scimitars and thorned nets. They begin to close in. You can see 4 of them. 2 of them come at Shava, the other 2 at Vought. They move across the floor with purpose, very deliberate where they step, apparently much more familiar with this location than you. And as they close, they're going to get within tossing distance of their nets and make their first attack with it. So, Vought and Shava, if you would please give me your armor classes. Okay. Shava, one of them hits you, completely catches you off guard. And as the shifting sands that you command had formed a net underneath you, a net of safety, this barbed net of a different material altogether kind of catches the top part of you. You're going to take 6 points of piercing damage. You are strained for the moment, or restrained for the moment, and are pulled 10 feet to this man's feet as he then attempts to attack you with his scimitar. And just barely misses you, the blade glancing off of your armor. Though you were prone at him, he still managed to miss. The second one with his net moves forward, opting to not throw the net on you just yet. But he has to have shifted his direction and is now closing with you, trying to, you see, bring a black hood, a bag, essentially, towards your head. Let's see. He manages to slip this hood over your head. The world goes dark and muffled. Vought. A similar pair approaches you. The first one throws his net and misses. The second, however, anticipates your tactile dodging and manages to ensnare you in his net. The thorns digging in for 3 points of damage. Apparently not able to work against your scaly hide quite as well as Shava's much softer skin. You are restrained as well and pulled 10 feet closer to him, where he attempts to strike at you as you're crumpled upon the floor. And this one hits with his scimitar, cutting into you for 8 points of slashing damage. The second readies a hood, but is not able to get to you just yet, as he had to abandon his net that he had missed you with. So, Vought, you are restrained inside of a thorned net. And Shava, you are restrained and hooded inside of a thorned net. Noctos, you are swirling around in a vortex of sand beneath the floor. Rith, you are lowering the rope to try to save Noctos' life. Shava, it is your turn.
So Shava is understanding now why the mandala that she saw the sands through this morning was so confined. It's because every part of her day today has been about squeezing or being squeezed into the smallest space possible. And rattling her. The realization that this is what's going on is just putting her over the edge. And especially when these spikes like stab into her, it's making her get stabbed more, and she just keeps writhing, and she's being pulled over and just barely avoiding these blows from all around her. The hood goes over her head, and she just screams, and sand explodes around her. I'm casting the sleep spell, and I have to roll 5d8, and the total is how many hit points of creatures the spell can affect. So that's 7, 11, 15, 21, and 23 hit points worth of creatures.
Okay.
And so starting with the creature that has the lowest hit points, 20 feet.
So before you get much further, if you would please,
yeah.
I need you to make a Constitution saving throw. This is a concentration check.
Yeah,
and
that's
you're
a
going to
good
be
point.
you're going to be at disadvantage as long as sleep has verbal components, which I believe that it does.
It is verbal, yeah. Verbal, somatic, and material, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, so if you would please go ahead and give me a concentration check at a disadvantage.
All right. Damn it. That's 5 total.
Okay, so yeah, you scream and you attempt to cast your spell. What does Shava, how does that sit with Shava when she calls upon her sands and they fail to respond?
Well, I don't think she knew anything was going to happen. This is a really reflexive thing. She called on the sands like help, and then the sprayed out around her, but she could tell it didn't take hold. And I think she just starts struggling even more, and that explains another. She suffered more damage. Not only is his armor thicker, but she's losing control in this moment.
Okay. Is there anything that you wish to do with a bonus action?
You know what? I want to hide. I want to be inside this thing, and I want to make it seem like sand covering me, or maybe like sunk down into the floor if it's sand. I guess it's not, it's tile, but still.
Yeah. I think there's I want to say that there's a higher level ability that the rogue gets to hide when they're in plain sight.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point, and I can't do it until then.
Right.
Yeah, my only other options, I don't really have any other options. So I'm just, I've lost control.
Okay. All right. Vought, it is your turn.
So I managed to avoid getting a net on my head, but I'm restrained. No. Or not a net on my head, a bag, rather.
Right. That is correct.
So in my mind, all of my limbs are rather restrained, but as a racial ability, I can poison spray. So kind of in like the sense of like a spitting cobra or something of the sort.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than out of my hand or something. My target, which would be the person holding my net, has to succeed a Constitution savings throw of 12. No. Yes, 12.
Constitution. No, they failed by 1 point.
Perfect. They take 1d12 damage.
Once again, these guys are minions, so I mean, you're welcome to roll the damage. Sure.
6 points of damage.
And what does that look like as this guy succumbs to this poisonous spray?
So it's probably as like one swift action. Like these guys are like hurriedly trying to put this sack over my head, and maybe like I flare up and kind of prevent them from being able to do that. And as like the one guy kind of is like sitting right in my face, it's just like a and he like and like pulls his face away, and it's like the Mummy Returns where the guy's face is melting. You know, it's like
Yes.
comically skeletal remains. You know, he falls over, falls into the pit, maybe next to Noctos.
Absolutely right next to Noctos.
That's what I picture anyway.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So that's 3 of these individuals that have been dealt with. Noctos, you're in the pit.
I'm in the pit.
You're tumbling and swirling around, kind of slowly moving closer and closer to the bottom by way of kind of moving in a circular pattern around the room, kind of a descending spiral, if you will. What are you going to do?
So against all of his better judgment and everything that he knows about sand, like he's writhing around, just kind of making it worse. Because he's very much freaking out because his brother died in a very similar way. He got caught in some quicksand out in the desert, and it gobbled him up before they could get to him. So he's just writhing around, kind of screaming, and then this body falls into the pit next to him, and he kind of has a lucid moment of, okay, hey, if I don't do anything about this, then I'm going to die. And he's going to kind of try to use that as like a platform to kind of get himself out of. To see if that helps at all.
So you're going to kind of halfway lift yourself up on this body?
Yeah, I'm going to try to get my waist up to it and kind of plop my belly on him.
Okay.
Just to kind of get up.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so you kind of flop yourself up onto this this corpse, and you're able to see, you know, its veil kind of falls open or probably is actually melted away, as is the skin on its face, as you come like face to face with this kind of melted, bleached bone skull. And you no sooner are dealing with this exchange as you see a rope kind of flop down into the sand ahead of you, and you realize that you're going to pass it if you don't grab it.
So yeah, seeing the rope, he pushes off of the individual and kind of does like a little jump, as much of a jump as he can do, and he grabs onto the rope. But with that momentum that he did, I'm going to say it actually takes him completely under to where only like his wrists up are still exposed as he's hanging onto the rope.
Okay. Make an athletics check for me, if you would, please. And you may have advantage for using the corpse as leverage or as a jumping platform.
All right. Athletics. That's going to be a 13.
Okay. So you managed to grab a hold of the rope, and the rope holds your weight. But Rith, you are struggling with this burden. You're holding it for now, but it's going to be difficult for you to hold Noctos. And Noctos, you feel a little bit of slack kind of slide through Rith's hands, just a little. Though you have a hold of this rope with one arm currently. We cut away to another room, somewhere within this complex, where there are 4 individuals with hoods upon their heads and their hands and legs bound together, as they can hear, muffled, the sounds of the combat that is happening just on the other side of the wall of the room where they now sit. One of them, Jeff, if you would please, describe to me what one of these individuals looks like.
At this point, am I also bound and covered?
Yes.
So this person's face would not be visible then, right now. Face is covered in this sack. Prevents him from seeing, but he can still hear the muffled sounds. Tails off down just above his torso. There's tattered robes. These pieces that almost seem like this reddish sandstone seem to kind of scatter across it. Almost like pieces of shattered glass on a tattered frame. And despite this person's unfortunate circumstance, as he would put it, he still stands with a pride that his covered face is not showing, but his body still does. At the sound of the scuffle breaking out, Lee turned despite his vision being nothing but the blackness of this sackcloth in the direction that the noise was coming from, trying to determine what was happening.
And as we see the focus kind of shift just ever so slightly from this mystery individual, we see a dwarf emerge from the shadows, a female Mahan, masked, not unlike the people that she apparently is keeping prisoner. She says, "So, you think your friends have come for you? I think not. Today they meet Maradropa." That's where we're going to take our break. Thank you so much, Jeff, for hanging in there for the first half. I promise we'll get you more involved in the second. Everybody would take 10 minutes, go hit the head, refill your drinks, kiss your spouses, welcome if you got them, etc., etc. If you are tuning in this evening, thank you very much for doing so. If you're tuning in the future, thank you, not even a little bit less. I appreciate anybody who comes by and views these games. And with any luck, the second half will go as fantastic as the first half seems to have. And we'll get right back to it in about 10 minutes.
Man, I was just telling my wife about this, and this game is a gauntlet. We are going through some hard stuff like all the time, and I love it.
Definitely isn't a boring game, that's for sure. Which, I mean, in a lot of the games that I run, I'm a strong advocate for the players to win and come out on top, and I have killed players, but it's definitely not like the goal by any means. So having challenges that are like, pushing the limits and makes the character more satisfying, in my opinion, almost.
Sure. To being coddled.
Yeah. This is my first. I guess this is technically my first full game of D&D that I sat through. I've come in the middle of 1 or 2 before, but this one I started out and I plan on seeing it through to the end. So it's like, let's just jump into the action. Go.
I love it.
I'm not worried. I think in a way, Ritz's motto is, or not really motto, more like his mindset is, he's short and everything's bigger than him, so he just figures, why be afraid of anything?
Well,
he's strong. Short man syndrome.
In terms of metagaming, I've come close to dying in every game, so that's a reality I'm going to have to face here soon.
I'm waiting for my chance. I'm sure Jeremy's going to save it way towards the very end. He's going to find some way to just wail on Rith.
Yeah, it's like me, Baron, and Jeremy's Ashes of Heaven campaign. I don't think there's a session where my character hasn't gone down unconscious yet. Every single session, like he just gets the absolute shit beat out of him.
I think it's the second.
These times, there's just nothing I can.
I think it's the second episode where it was like just pounding snow, and you just kept getting the shit end of the stick. It's like another level of exhaustion, Jeff.
I had like 4 levels of exhaustion at one point.
Jeez.
It's like, well, due to your levels of exhaustion, you find yourself even more exhausted. Take a level of exhaustion.
that character is getting smashed at every possible turn and somehow is not dead, but I'm sure it's coming.
Going Khalid.
It is certainly my job to worry you guys from time to time. If you're not worried, then, well, I'm not doing it right.
I haven't worried about the dragon. I mean,
Agreed.
it just seemed unusual for you to take a dragon and just kill every player this early on. Especially since you're supposed to be building our confidence as new players, right? Or at least when we started, we had new players.
Got to show people the ropes. Show them the game.
Training wheels are off.
Okay. So, we see the female Mahan step forward and make her proclamation. Just before we cut back to the room where the party is fighting these individuals who seem intent on their capture. Rith, we're back to the top of the round with you.
Mouth. Off guard. Okay. So remind me, how many of these men are left in this room? The bad guys?
I believe there are 3 left. Is that correct?
3? Oh boy. Rith is stuck in a pretty hard spot right now. Both the other people that are not in a hole are under nets. We need some help to get out. Rith is trying to hold up Noctos. And if he lets go, Noctos may not survive. And he's got to defend himself. So he's processing all this information around him, trying to hold on to Noctos as hard as he can, but he's realizing quickly that if I don't step up and do something about these guys, Noctos is going to go down no matter what. I'm gonna have to let go of this rope and hope that pillar holds. Maybe Noctis can climb himself out. So Rith looks down in the pit, says, "Sorry, Noctis," and let's go with the rope, which doesn't go very far because it is tied off still. And
it travels about the foot and a half from where your waist would be down to the floor before it snaps taut to the edge of the hole.
Minimal effect on Noctis. And turning to face the two closest guys. Well, I say the two closest, but really, I can hit anything in the room with Eldritch Blast. The one that's closest to Rith and one of the ones by Shava. Rith is going to shoot out 2 beams of Eldritch Blast in hopes to take them both out.
All right, roll those up.
Lethal, because they deserve it. Okay, so I roll 1 for each, right?
Yes, it is 2 separate attack rolls.
I got a nat 20 on the first one. And a 18 on the other one.
Those will both hit. And as I said, these are minions. So why don't you tell me what that looks like as you take these 2 down?
So Rith doesn't have to roll any dice this time.
Again, you certainly can if you'd like to.
Nah. I want to see how, well, I don't know. It's either 1d10. Yeah. I'll go ahead and roll for damage, see how badly I destroy them. Okay, one guy gets tickled to death. Okay, so the one closest to Rith. With Rith's free hands, he drops the rope and reaches up and just picks his targets quickly without even thinking about it. Just the 2 targets, wearing bright red, can't miss him. So one guy off to the right, he gets the easy beam, just poof. Hardly a sound, hardly spectacular. As a matter of fact, it's not even all that powerful, but it's just enough to take it for him to, oh, something's wrong, and he just keels over just out of shock, I guess, from how ineffective it was. One of his buddies chuckled for a moment and then got blasted with the other beam, and he didn't fall down slowly. He got hit in the face and did this sort of ragdoll onto the floor past his other buddy, hopefully drawing attention away from the nets for a moment.
Second one's body hits the floor, and as it does so, another piece of the sandstone tiling collapses beneath his weight and falls into oblivion beyond. Okay. That leaves 2 remaining. No, 1 remaining. And I believe it is the other one on Shava still, who does, in fact, abandon the tussled up version of the sand elf at his feet and instead turns his attention towards Rith, draws a short bow, knocks an arrow, and lets it fly in his direction. Rith, what is your armor class? Never mind. Okay. This arrow strikes you probably right in the lung. Oh, this is going to hurt, man. All right. So I rolled a critical, and I rolled max damage. So that's going to be 18 points of damage as this thing buries itself to its fletchings into your torso. Rith, I need you to make a Constitution saving throw, please. An 18. Okay, cool. You passed, which means that you take no more damage, but you are slowed, which means you will move at half speed while you are under the effects of the poison that is on this arrow.
Is that rounded up or rounded down?
Round in your favor.
Okay, so 25 divided by 2. Still just 15.
15.
That's low.
Okay. This is definitely some kind of like poison that is coursing through your body from the spot where this arrow has made penetration. And it is definitely affecting your motor functions. Though you seem to have warded off, what you feel is probably a much more severe effect. Okay, that was the last one of them alive in the room. So Shava, you're up.
I mean, I'm still terrified. I think all I'm going to try to do this round is escape from the net that has entangled me.
Okay, so you're going to need to make a strength check or an acrobatics roll.
Definitely going to go with acrobatics. Okay. That's
I missed the result. Sorry. I heard the lead up to it.
Oh, sorry. It's a 24.
A 24. Excellent. Okay. Yeah. It takes some doing, and you have to pull a few of these little barbs and thorns out from various places, which probably takes a little bit of calming down. And since especially you're doing it by feel, and you manage to worm your way kind of out of this net. You do still have the hood upon your head for the moment, at least. If you wish to use your bonus action to try to remove that, you can do so on this turn as well.
I'd like to do that, but I actually am willing to take damage if it means that I don't and have to like just struggle against the barbs and stuff as I scramble out of this net.
I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit. You're willing to take damage if...
Sorry, I'm willing to take damage if it means that instead of calming down to get out of the net, I continue to freak out and I'm just like scrambling out as fast as I can.
Yeah, sure. All right. You're going to take a further 1 point. So apparently it wasn't quite as bad as maybe your mind had played it up to be, or most of them broke or something.
Sorry about that.
Okay, yeah, and then with my bonus action, I'm definitely going to take the mask off. Or the hood off.
Okay. So yeah, Shava, you're able to free yourself wholly as you kind of toss this mask down and are able to take stock of what's going on around you. But it is your turn.
Rith was able to take care of the guy that was holding my net, or that was holding the mask. That was he got the other guy that was trying to apprehend me, and I kind of am using my tail to try and to get this net off me. Is that going to be the similar kind of roll as Shava, either a strength check or acrobatics?
Correct. You can also try to apply slashing damage to it directly if you want to try to cut your way free. It's kind of up to you, but being restrained makes it kind of difficult.
Right. For this instance, I think I'm just using my tail to kind of like, pole vault this off of me. I'm just going to do a straight strength check. 8 on the die for a total of 13.
Wow. Yes, absolutely. You all but destroy this thing as you kind of hurl it off of you, freeing yourself likewise.
Kind of seeing this in the 6-second round kind of thing. So I poison spray this guy, and almost instantaneously after that, Rith has all but vaporized the guy next to him. And in the same motion, that guy has shot an arrow at Rith. So in the same fluid, I'm still kind of like hissing, but more as like a screech rather than attack this time, flinging the net off me with like death in my eyes. I look at this guy with the bow. How close is he to me? I know both me and Shava were imprisoned in nets. Were we next to each other?
Not next to one another, but I would say probably 20 feet apart.
Okay. Would I be able to move to him and attack, or have I used my action?
Yeah, it definitely took the action to break the net off of you.
Okay.
So you could use your movement to close if you want, but you wouldn't be able to attack unless you were able to do so with a bonus action.
Righto. Yeah, rather than that, I think I'm just going to kind of try and... Did Sheva manage to get her net? You got her net off as well. I guess I'm just going to get my ground, get back up on the right side of my body, gauge the situation for the rest of my action.
Excellent. Okay.
Maybe take note of some of the fallen tiles to call out warnings for anyone that would make a false step or something.
On a landing above, kind of at the head of a staircase, the top of a staircase, we see this masked female dwarven figure kind of step into view. And she says, "The witch has come for you all. You will be my children. Or else." The four of you, if you would, please. I need you to make wisdom saving throws.
Is she using a magic or something?
Yes, she is.
Okay, then I get advantage.
Excellent. Yes, it kind of, you hear almost like an echo of her words as a whisper, kind of in your mind, that kind of harmonizes with her speaking voice. Wow, 3 people got 12s. That's very interesting. And then a 14. Okay.
She hit us all on an even playing field.
However, all four of you failed. And
so wait a second. Is this an effect to charm me? I have Fey ancestry, so I might get advantage against it.
No, it is not. This is it deals psychic damage.
Okay.
So your minds are kind of racked with like an unnatural pain, somewhere deep within your psyche, as you take 8 points of psychic damage. As this whisper kind of resonates in your head, almost echoing ad nauseum, until you almost feel your brain like shattering before it finally fades. That brings us to Noctos. It's your turn, sir.
He's going to muster everything he's got to start climbing this rope.
All right. So I'm going to need an athletics check from you, sir. I would say you're probably at advantage, but also at disadvantage. Your advantage because you're able to climb a rope and you've got that to assist you. But at the same time, this sand is like worked its way into your clothes, your boots and stuff, and it's fighting against you pretty bad. So just a normal roll.
19.
What does it look like as Noctos pulls himself triumphantly out of this pit?
The first thing that gets exposed is his face, and he'll gasp out, spitting sand up. And as he kind of hacks and coughs, he just like one hand over the other until he has his feet free, and not being able to really get his feet on much of anything. Just does like the college climb, just going up. As he still dangles on the rope, because I'm sure I can't make it to the top.
What is your movement speed normally?
25.
Yeah, you only fell 10 feet.
Okay, then yeah, then he'll finally get to the top, just not paying attention to anything that's going on. He'll kind of flop himself over, kind of roll onto his back as his knees dangle, his knees down, dangle in the pit. And he'll just breathe heavily.
All right. Jeff, you have heard Maradropa, partially at least, leave the room. You hear her address what you can only assume are somebody other than her lackeys in the room beside you. These slavers are screaming out as it seems like whoever it is may be beginning to turn the tide of battle in their favor, though they have not tangled with Maradropa yet. What do you wish to do, if anything?
Yeah, so this still masked by force man is standing, his arms bound. In terms of at the moment, he still stands almost with the posture like a king would stand with. This just he's going to take a couple steps towards the direction where he heard this Dwarven woman go. He's actually going to call out, his voice muffled by the but still come as clear as energy. Proposition for if you'll hear me.
She sighs. Why not? What have you got to say?
It seems not quite as I would hope. Out from below. If you would take me as my loyalty in the others you've taken. Do well to bring me along. I can fight for you.
You wish to aid me in this battle? That is what you are saying. Very well. I will perhaps set you free. But if you betray me, I will kill you in the slowest and worst way possible. She nods.
There's nothing.
Go ahead, sorry.
You just expect nothing less.
Literally all I caught from that, Jeff, was the S sound from the end of your S there.
He said, I would expect nothing less.
Excellent. You feel hands upon you that are not dwarven, that seem to have stepped from the corners of this room and hastily cut your hands free. And then the hood is removed from your head, exposing you to the dim, very, very dim light that is in this room. So you still have your turn, if you wish.
And at that point, as the bag comes off, we see this person's face. He has this long, ashen gray hair. His face is still young, but it portrays a certain sternness of age. It's hard to tell exactly where he might fall in this age status. It's almost impossible to tell for sure. But he grins a wicked smile at the hood being pulled off. Very good. And then he'll take a step forward out of the doorway to survey down from where this woman had just spoken these dark words to this, at the time, unseen battlefield. And he's going to survey it.
And as This self-professed Maradropa is joined by a second form in the doorway. Rith, it becomes your turn once again.
Okay. This arrow is sticking out of Rith's chest. He feels very hindered and unable to do a whole lot. Would it cost a bonus action or a full action to remove the arrow?
I'll call it a bonus action.
Bonus action? All right. So Rith is going to take one bonus action to remove the arrow from his chest. It's in there pretty deep, probably sticking out the other side, so he's more or less going to poke it the rest of the way through and rip it out through his back the remainder of the way, cast it aside, and then reach out to an invisible force as he communes with his patron momentarily, and casts Cure Wounds as a second-level spell to heal himself. Oh, I suppose I should grab the right dice, huh? So that's 2d8. Where's my d8? Is the one? No, that's not the one. Ah, found it. 10. He recovers 14 HP.
Excellent. And as Rith is taking a moment for himself, seemingly not an immediate threat, the slaver with the bow now turns his attention on Vat, who seems a considerable threat on the battlefield. He is going to loose an arrow at Vat, and he's also going to loose an arrow at Shava. Vat, that's going to hit you. Okay, and Shava, it's going to hit you as well. I got a 15 and a 16 on the die. So each one of you is going to take... Vought, you take 4 points. Shava, you likewise take 4 points. Piercing, if it matters. But I will need Constitution saving throws from both of you, if you would, please.
I'm also at -2 hit points, so I drop.
Okay, so Shava,
Oh,
it's the sand.
and I rolled a 1 on my Constitution roll.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, 18 on Vought's save. So, Vought, you likewise have been slowed, but take no more damage or no other harmful effects from this poison that is coursing its way through your body. Shava, the poison's effect on you is, as of the moment at least, unknown. So, this individual then steps again deliberately towards where Maradropa is, kind of standing beneath her and readying to dish out further damage. Shava, your turn immediately follows. So you will need to make your first of death saving throws. So you roll a d20, and hopefully you get a 10 or better.
Got a 9.
Okay, so that is your first failed death save. If you roll a 1 on your next one, that counts as 2, which would be a total of 3, and that is do not pass go, do not collect $200.
Yikes.
So, Shava is down. That brings us to Vought.
And a shitty fortune teller.
It is your turn, Vought.
Well, I am stuck halfway between, attacking the person that's attacking us and trying to help Shava. I am not our healer, nor do I have the capabilities to do so. So to kind of, negate our threat here in the immediate, I'm going to use one of my spell slots to cast Magic Missile. This is kind of for the sake of flavor, going to take the premise of kind of, 3 more spits of venom, just with a slight glow to them, at the guy firing his bow at us.
Okay, yeah, and as I said, they are minions. So if you wish, since you have 3 orbs, you can actually just send the one at him, knowing that it hits unerringly, and that these guys have not seemed very tough, and split the other 2 if you wish, going to a different target.
I'll use the other 2 to attack the masked dwarf.
Okay, so for those, you will go ahead and roll your d4 plus 1 for each one of those.
We're looking at a total of 8 damage.
Okay.
And
Somebody would remember.
to kind of finish out my turn, I'm going to use my second wind bonus action to gain 1d10 plus my level in fighter back in health for a total of 6 health. We'll take it. And this kind of, you see like the wounds kind of have like a dry scaliness around them, and it's actually just my skin shedding itself to kind of make the wound more shallow.
Excellent. That brings us to Monodropa's turn. Monodropa looks across the room and spies Noctos lying on the floor. And for anyone who might be able to read body language, though you cannot see her facial expressions because they are hidden beneath this mask that she wears, you can tell that she becomes a little agitated. Noctos. She comes down the stairs about halfway with kind of a false confidence. And you hear her voice, though none of the rest of you do. Because Noctos, this voice whispers in your mind. She says, "Why have you come here, Mahan? Who sent you? Who has sent you to deal with Monodropa?" Noctos, you have heard of Monodropa before. She is a Mahan legend. A woman who is known as the Eight-Fingered Witch. Because at one time she was caught stealing. And they attempted, as all Mahan tribe do with thievery, to remove her hands. However, when the blade struck, she fought back and only lost 2 fingers, her forefinger and her thumb, from her right hand. She then murdered her entire tribe and disappeared. And there are sightings, supposedly, of her. Rumors that she still exists somewhere out in the desert. So when you hear the name Monodropa and see the woman matching the description, there's context to it.
Get out of my head, you 8-fingered witch. Yabala is the one that sent me, and it will be your end.
You are a follower of the gods. I should have known. That's why you would come to a place such as this. You are no more than a fool.
We shall see who is the fool. The end.
Perhaps. Noctos. She raises her mangled hand, the one that sports only the 3 fingers. And out of each of those 3 fingers, a blast of eldritch magic streams forward in your direction. What is your armor class?
Power class is 16.
Because you are prone, she attacks with disadvantage, saving you from one critical. However, there is still a single one of them that hits you, the first. And as it does so, you take 7 points of force damage as the pain kind of racks you at the base of your skull and kind of shoots down your spine. Noctos, it is your turn.
Noctis is going to stand up from prone. And then he's going to try to close the gap to Shava.
Yeah, you absolutely can.
And extremely hastefully, in a manner unlike Noctos, he's going to be wasteful when it comes to water. He's going to take one of his 6 water skins, and he's just going to cut it open over his head as he starts chanting to Yabala. And I'm going to cast a Cure Wounds on Shava with a second spell slot and a Healing Word bonus action on myself with the same water to heal the both of us. So Shava, that's 12 points coming at you and 6 points coming at me.
And as the water of Yabala kind of washes over both of you, you can see it instantly begin working its magic, divinely kind of knitting the wounds that you each have sustained. For Noctos, perhaps maybe healing more internally, more mentally than anything else, numbing the pain that's still throbbing down his spine. Meanwhile, Bilal, where you have seen all of this happen as you stand beside Metadropa, she stepped away from you, moving about halfway down the staircase. It is your turn. So what do you wish to do?
Lal will take another couple steps towards the platform near the stairs that this woman has just walked down. He'll just call out, almost casually, "Would you have me strike first, Lady Dwarf?"
This one, she says, pointing her other hand in Noctos's direction.
As you wish. And he brings up a hand, and there's kind of this like blast of smoke and cinders, and then in his hand is this like perfectly spherical ball of fire, which then with a spin and a whir turns into 3 different smaller spheres, equally perfect and round. But as he casts his hand forward, he does so not towards Noctos, but behind this woman's back. I'm going to start off with a bang. So that is a 23, a 24, and a crit to hit as I cast Scorching Ray.
Yes, absolutely. All 3 of these fiery orbs will slam into the back of the unsuspecting Metadropa. So go ahead and roll your damage out.
So I already did. That's going to be 36 fire damage. As just these 3 spheres just roar forwards as they crash into her, just like bursting like fireballs, just exploding into these 3 just blasts of sparks and flame.
And they splash into her back, catching several of her scarves on fire as she kind of tries to remove the outer skirting and things that seems to have caught. And she kind of calls out in dismay. You! I warned you about betraying me. You will pay with these worms.
And then there's another flash of smoke and cinder, but this time not extending into any target, but from where Bilal was just standing a moment ago. And the people down below, and perhaps the person that was behind him that freed us, might see it as well, depending on where he ended up. That Bilal is no longer in that spot atop the platform, but down at the bottom, past the stairs, as far as 30 feet worth of Misty Step would get him towards these people who are fighting this witch. And he would be facing towards the witch and not towards them.
And as this strange individual seems to take a stand with the rest of you, spinning, she curls her lip and spits onto the ground. So be it. Rith, we're back to your turn.
We still have one more slaver down here with us, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
No, I handled him with my magic missile.
Right. Yes, I'm sorry. That is correct.
Right.
He's gone.
So it's just
It's just her.
Yep.
Good thing we don't have to fight this newcomer. They can tear us up. Okay. Then, having taken a moment to heal himself, and try to recover a little bit, is Rith in direct view of Maradropa from where he's standing, or is there like a pillar or a tent or something in the way?
There's definitely enough stuff kind of scattered about the room, pillar-wise and things, that you could have tried to put one in between you.
Well, I don't want to have one between us. I want to be able to, have a clear line of view with her so I can fight back.
Very well. Then yes, there is a clear line of sight.
Okay, good. We'll just rearrange the battlefield here just so I'll move that pillar over here. So having taken this moment to heal up, Rith is feeling more able to fight, but he's still not wanting to close the gap quite yet. As a matter of fact, he wants to provide better protection. So he's going to attack Maradropa while she's kind of stunned from the recent betrayal. And then he's going to use a bonus action to shift into some animal form of some sort, give himself a little bit of a buffer. That's a affirmation.
Sorry, yes. I was away from the window, so it wouldn't let me unmute.
Okay, let's see.
So, your bonus action was used to shift into what kind of creature?
Well, I haven't done the attack rolls yet.
Oh, I apologize.
Just lining up what I'm doing here.
Sure.
So, first Eldritch Blast and the second Eldritch Blast. The first one's probably not going to hit with a 7. But the other one with a 19.
Will absolutely.
Okay. So, that's wrong die. I need a D10. I don't know what dice I'm rolling over here. Look it up in my book. It's just 1d10 force damage. Okay. Then she's going to take 5 points of damage, and then Rith is going to shapeshift into... let's say, right after he blasts it out from his finger, with the other hand, he's reaching down, and he grabs a pinch of sand, and he pours it on his hair, and takes the form of like I'd say like a brown bear, but more like a sand bear. So it's like a bear, but
sure,
also brown.
Yeah, it's a bear shape that Rith has seen before from his homeland, but it's crafted of sand instead.
Yeah, modern region. So he's going to shapeshift into just a spin on the brown bear. Give herself some buffer.
She takes the impact of the magic and kind of halfway looks in your direction before realizing that
Breath is gone.
Rith is now the shape of a sandy bear, and there are a lot of you who seem to be outnumbering her and the last remaining slaver that is with her. The slaver who's with her seems to realize this as well. He moves forward towards the base of the staircase that she is on and begins starting to try to make his way up, but not without a parting shot. He turns and is going to fire once at Noctos. Apparently both at Noctos. So Noctos, the first shot definitely misses, as does the second. He rolled a 2 on both of them. So both of his shots seem to be more bark than bite, as his focus is apparently on trying to escape what is certainly a doomed situation. So as he kind of makes his way part way up the stairs, she kind of sneers at him. You are running like a coward? You should die like the rest of them. Shava, it's your turn.
So Shava passed out for a moment, and this poison was... Did the healing magic negate the poison, or is it still in effect?
No, it is still in effect.
Okay, and what's the effect now that I'm conscious?
You had failed your saving throw at first?
I did, yeah.
Okay. So, you are slowed. You are sleepy, groggy. But, other than the initial damage that you took, those are the only effects that you're currently under. So it's almost like you're stuck between consciousness and unconsciousness.
Slowed, sleepy, and groggy. Okay. So Shava is going to come to and shake her head, and she's going to see that I think everybody's knocked out except for this masked woman, right?
I think 2 of the slavers are actually knocked unconscious. 3 of the others are dead, one of which you don't currently see. He fell down the pit, and the other remaining one is still on his feet.
Okay. Shava then is going to... how close is this one that's still standing to her?
He's probably about 30 feet now.
30 feet,
he's
okay.
about a third of the way up the staircase.
In that case, Shava is going to turn toward the exit and groggily crawl in that direction. As fast as she can, actually. She's going to take the dash action. And
Very
move
well.
a full 60 feet the hell out of here.
All right. So, like some kind of bizarre spider, almost, the Navadar shuffles towards the door from whence you came, just as fast as she can.
Yeah.
Vought, it is your turn.
So I likewise see this masked figure and her lackey about 30 feet away from me.
Yes.
I'm also slowed, so I can't move very far. I don't think we caught your name, traveler, but it seems as if you are against her, then we are on the same page. We are fairly against the wall here. We've seen better times. Could you aid us? And I'm basically just going to move myself in between Noctos and her, and cast Blade Ward.
Excellent. And as Vought's version of this this spell kind of springs into existence, what do we see?
I have my sword drawn in my right hand. It's kind of just like I put my left arm out, and there's a small glimmer, almost kind of like I almost picture like the ward spell from Skyrim, if anyone knows what that looks like. But it kind of like ripples over the rest of my body, and there's like a flex, if you will, and my scales kind of seem, I guess they can't look harder. But overall, there's like a wave that washes over me, and my physique kind of tightens together.
Nice, almost like a arcane shimmer to your scales itself.
Yeah, kind of like they're just tightening together, so I'm less inclined to take damage from slashing, piercing, or bludgeoning damage.
Excellent. It is Monodropa's turn. She takes a couple of steps down in your direction, Vot. You can see the tenseness of her jaw, because the mask only covers the top half of her face, kind of tighten, almost in concert with the tightening of your own scales, as she sees you protecting this other Mahan. And she just... Very well. Very well. She turns and begins backing up the staircase. But as she does so, Vought, you feel the voice continue speaking inside your own head. A whisper that kind of tugs at your consciousness. You need to make a wisdom saving throw, please.
Got a 13.
Okay. Unfortunately, this whisper is antagonizing. Oh my god. You take 16 points of psychic damage.
Mental fortitude is weak.
She tells you of how foolish you were to have left the safety of your people and to come here to die like this. Her certainty and the echoing of her voice that seems to go on forever causes a fracture in your mind. There is now a splinter in your brain that will not let go of what she said.
As I'm racked with self-doubt here, I almost, if I had one, would be dropping to one knee. I'm looking pretty rough.
She looks with a little bit of a smirk on Vought as he seems to struggle with this mental attack, though she does continue to back up the staircase away from the rest of you. Noctos, it is your turn.
You coward. You would run from us. And he's going to start digging in his pouch. And he's going to take out a small piece of iron. And he's going to straighten it with his hands. And he's going to dip it into his water skin and throw it at her. As long as she's within 60 feet, which I think she still would be.
Yes.
And as this small piece of iron is flying at her, he's going to imbue it with Yabala's favor. And when it hits her, the area starts to stiffen, and she needs to make a wisdom saving throw. DC 14.
12 on the die.
As I cast Hold Person.
Wisdom save?
Yeah.
She failed by 1 point.
So that was the Hold Person spell. So she will be paralyzed for the duration. It's concentration up to 1 minute. At the end of each of her turns, she can make another wisdom saving throw. On a successful save, she ends her turn, or she the spell ends. So she is currently paralyzed.
Excellent. So this piece of iron, this small splinter of metal, sails through the air and strikes her right in the side of the neck. And she kind of reaches up almost instinctively, but her hand does not come back down from her neck, as her whole body seems to go rigid, and she topples backwards onto the staircase rather painfully. She doesn't fall off the side or begin tumbling down, as her body is kind of laid out supine on the stairs themselves.
And as he closes 25 feet closer to her, starting to go up the stairs, so not quite that far. It seems you were the fool.
She looks at you through these darkened holes in the mask. And though you cannot see her eyes, you can feel the seething anger that is coming from her frozen face. Bilal, it is your turn.
As Bilal sees this woman freeze under this magic, a twisted smile kind of takes over his face as he will walk up the steps towards this woman a little bit. You didn't understand the simplest rule there is. Never trust those who have every reason to despise you. As he says this, his hand comes up again, fire sprouting from it as he points it down. And this is going to hurt like hell. So she is paralyzed, which means my attacks will have advantage. That's a 21, an 18, and a 17. Will all of those hit?
Yes, they will.
All right, and because she's paralyzed, they are critical hits automatically. And she is going to take...
If you're within 5 feet, they're crits. If within 5 feet, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he walked up to her, so...
Oh, good deal.
Yeah, that's fine.
She's going to take 41 fire damage.
And you roast her body until there is little more than blackened bone and dried, charred skin that barely clings to them. The remaining slaver that was in the room with you is easy enough to run down. The only thing of her that remains is her half mask, still worn loosely now about her skull. Seemingly untouched by the fire.
Bilal will lean down over her, just what used to be her body, which is now just blackened skeleton and ash. And not even taking care, will just kind of, as he wraps his fingers around this mask, just break the parts of her charred skull that need to be broken for it to come free without issue, kind of taking it up in his hand and looking at it. As he'll turn around to the other people that are left, and as if nothing had happened, just, well, my name is Bilal. Pleased to make your acquaintance.
Vought kind of shrugging off his wounds. Likewise, I would gladly meet someone who could do things like that, who would like to fight on the side that I'm on. I suppose the age-old adage, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So I would prefer to call you that for the time being, if anything.
Yes, I'm very
Yes, it
thankful
seems-
that I was not on the receiving end of that. Thank you.
Yes, it seems fate has blessed us with a common enemy. Fortunate for both you and I.
And we run the other guy down. What are we? How are we all sitting? I know I'm not too hot. Sheva's probably had better days coming back to this side of the living. How do we feel about licking our wounds?
Yeah, I'm not doing too hot either. If we don't have time for a short rest, but we have at least 10 minutes, I can cast Prayer of Healing.
Whether or not you guys take a short rest is kind of up to you. I would say that your characters would probably opt out of sleeping in this room, as there are still portions of the floor that seem to be giving way, and the sand beneath it is dropping, and is probably a good 25 to 30 feet below you at this point.
Could I cast Thaumaturgy to have tremors go throughout the room to expose the holes?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's probably the most effective use of that spell I've ever seen.
Yeah, so you speak the word of Yabala in kind of a booming voice, and the room around you shimmies and shakes more than it has, and several more tiles definitely fall free. And again, there's maybe half of the floor in this room left, and it seems somewhat intentional by design. You know, there's somewhat of a pattern of the floor remaining, but you can tell that that even some of that has collapsed. There are, thank you, Jeff. There are still two slavers who are unconscious. They are not dead. We'll say one of them actually falls with this shaking of the floor into the sand below and is very quickly kind of vortexed down and out of sight.
Can Rith eat the other one?
If he wants to, sure.
There,
I see so many similarities to the Mummy, where it's like, you know, faceless minion number 2 has met extreme unfortunate demise. Like we safely knocked this guy out, and he fell into a hole to be forever sucked away. Like that just sucks for him. It's funny though.
That's some bad luck.
You must sacrifice your lives for me.
So Shava got her leg pinned by a fucking spike gate, and she had a spike net thrown on her and got cut up from that. And I imagine she didn't actually make it the full 60 feet whenever she fled. She probably like made it over to the door where the gate was, saw the gate and freaked out again, turned around and put her back against the wall and kind of took everything in and just started sobbing up against the wall, whether or not anybody's paying attention to her.
Rith doesn't notice because he's eating a slaver.
Yeah, the sand bear begins devouring this other slaver who wakes up screaming, and then is silenced once again.
And you know what? That just adds to her tears.
Noctis is going to head over to try to console her, see if we can't get to the bottom of like the terror that she's in. I'm going to actually, Noctis is going to come up and say, Sava, you know, it is okay. You know, you did foresee trouble today, and that we would meet with someone that would aid us greatly. And I believe that Bilal is the answer to your vision. Check the sands again. Maybe there is still light to be seen today.
Whenever you come over, you can't get the words out right at first because she like, as soon as you get close, she just like throws her arms around you and starts like sobbing into your shoulder, and it's hard for you to talk over her for a little bit. But eventually you get the words out, and she's just like, so much death. So much death. And she can't stop focusing on the death. You hear her say, the Sandrar and Khalid and all of these people. And then the dead walk. It's too much. It's too much.
The desert is always full of death, but there is always a new day.
Yes, but not for them. And she looks over and she sees one of the slavers being devoured by a sand bear. And then she relapses.
There. Drink up. And then I'm going to present some of Khalid again. He will be with us always, inside of us.
Yeah, so I guess she'll take it, and she's not really sure at first, but then she takes a drink, and it's almost as if she was expecting it to parch her, and instead it refreshes her, and so she takes another drink, and it's a lot longer and greedier than the first one. And she gets done drinking, and she leans up against the wall again, and she just looks exhausted, and she's still like crying. Tears are still coming down her face. But she looks up at you, which is something that she hasn't done so far. She hasn't made eye contact with you this whole time. And she hands you the flask, and she's like nodding as if to say thank you, but she can't get those words out.
You're welcome. And he'll take it, and he'll also partake. Take a sip.
And then she's just kind of leaning. She's up against the wall, and she's got her knees up, and her arms are kind of propped over her knees, and her hands are just shaking like crazy. And she's trying to like touch them to calm them down and stuff. But she's breathing heavily and sighing a lot. But she's just really trying to get a hold of herself right now.
Since that didn't seem to help calm her down, Noctis is going to draw a little, like the symbol of Yabala in the sands with water, and begin the ritual of casting Prayer of Healing. So in the next 10 minutes, everybody's going to get 2d8 hit points. And I'll roll that out.
While that is while that's happening, Bilal kind of leans back down over the body of this charred, what used to be Dwarven woman. And he just reaches down towards where some of the ash from her body was and scoops it up. As he does so, he takes this mask in his hand, kind of looking it over, wondering how it might not have been destroyed in the blast, and kind of making some quick conclusions in his head with his knowledge. Begins rubbing this ash all over this mask, kind of caking it on in points. After a moment, he kind of gives it a shake, and most of the ash falls off, but there's ash still stuck to it in certain places in runic patterns. So he kind of rubs another hand over it, and these runic patterns of ash burst up in a flash of flame, kind of creating these flaming sigils in the air where the mask is being held. As he does so, he just looks at it, and as the smoke kind of washes over him, he's struck with a vision in his mind as he casts Identify.
Fantastic. So the arcane sigils, the fiery description kind of plays out before your eyes, Bilal. Anyone else who happens to witness them is unable to decipher what they mean. But Bilal, you recognize that this mask is known as Fanak Mirset. This headdress is comprised of several parts, mostly of faded black off-white and a deep red, the color of wine. The bone mask is designed to be worn over the top portion of the face, while the scarves that drape from its back could be worn in any number of ways. An animal's spine lays over the top and drops down the back of the head, using its weight to keep everything in place. You aren't certain, but every time you touch this piece, you swear you could almost hear a whisper in your mind. This headpiece is only wearable by those who have access to spells. The wearer of this piece has their spell DCs and their spell attack rolls increased by +1. In addition, if this headdress is attuned to, the wearer gains telepathy with a range of 30 feet.
And that kind of weird smirk comes over Bilal's face again, and kind of nodding as if listening to some invisible conversation that only he can hear. And kind of just keeping it in his hand. Will not say anything in the moment, but just turn back to the others, kind of joining in towards the group where Noctos and Shava are. Well, if I may ask, what has brought you into this forsaken temple?
Foolish visions, Shava manages to squeeze out between sobs. The sobs are quiet now. It seems like Noctos has had some sort of positive effect, but she's still really moved by this situation.
Well, without your foolish visions, I would still be a slave, so perhaps there is something to be thankful for yet.
So she's clearly not in a position to be having a conversation, but you can hear her kind of process what you say, and she just says, "The sands are so cruel."
We are on a quest for Yobal. We have come here for many reasons, and I'm not sure what of it we can share. Rith, what do you feel comfortable sharing with him?
Looks up from his meal and growls, "Rah!" and goes back to eating.
He's a selfish bear. So correct me if I'm wrong, but effectively we're here to kill a god, no? Like the reincarnation of a god?
Yeah, you kind of suspect from the collected visions and bits of information and things that you guys have gathered that there is effectively some mortal form of Sinrufres that has managed to gain a foothold on the material plane here.
Okay. Then yeah, I'll divulge just that. We're on a quest from Yabala to kill Sinrufres. We have managed to beat him once before with Yabala's help, and he is now in mortal form as a babe. At least last we saw in the vision, he was a babe. And we are looking to locate him and end him. You wouldn't happen to have any information about that, would you?
You seek to fight a god.
Again.
I'm not sure whether that makes you brave or stupid. Probably both.
We have Yabala on our side. We will rue the day. We will make it through the night.
I'm sure she'll be very helpful.
as she is always.
Jeremy, would Bilal know anything more other than just the name of this person?
I would say the relationship history, the mythology kind of surrounding Sinruferus and having Yabala as one of his first wife, and then all of that kind of stuff is probably universally well known here in the Baklan lands. It's a pretty popular myth. So, if you need me to refresh for you, I will. Do what?
There's no myth.
Exactly.
Oh, the scorned lover sends her champions for vengeance. How poetic.
And as you all kind of start to regather, perhaps to rest for a bit, and discuss what step or steps may come next to finding the tombs of Tashara, and whether or not Bilal wants to be brave or stupid or both to follow you. Rith, you either finish, you get your fill, or your shift ends, one of the two, whichever happens first.
It does not take me 2 hours to eat one body.
Who knows?
I've finished about halfway and got bored because slavers aren't tasty.
A little stringy. So you start to make your way back towards where the rest of the group is gathered, and something kind of catches your eye. There is a very lightly scratched symbol in the inside of the doorway. One of the stones has been etched with this symbol. And if you would, please, describe to me what this symbol looks like and why it is that it has a strong connection in your mind with Alia.
Ah, dang, I was about to head that way. This Gears Return, you finished it for me. Okay, so Rith finishes up his meal and drops the bear visage. He was kind of disappointed that he didn't get to use it because Bilal torched that lady way before Rith even got over there. So it's like, well, better her than me. So he dropped the form, I guess, unwillingly is the best idea I've got, because he wanted to use it. Whatever, I'm talking in circles. Kind of tired, sorry. So everybody else has already left the room, left Rith to finish up his meal, and then he starts heading back out to go regroup. And as he's walking out the door, one of the stones catches his eye. This is where the spike gate was at, but the stone had come loose in all the commotion, and there was something scratched in a little nook between two of the bricks, or slabs, or whatever you want to call them. The symbol that Rith had seen somewhere before. Kind of looks like that. Well, mirrored, but you get the idea. It looks like a fish sort of thing. He recognizes this as some letter, one of the letters that he and Alia would transcribe to each other. They had a set of glyphs that they used specifically so that only they could read it. And this was the letter A that she would sign for her name. And as far as Rith knew, they were the only two individuals that knew this cipher. And to see it, it could have just been coincidental. It could have been put there on purpose. But it would be an odd position for that. So Rith ponders it for a moment, wondering, could she have come here? She was born in this land. But she left when she was young. He mulls it over in his mind for a moment, and decides that it's more of a coincidental. Like anybody could just scribble that on something, or it could have been naturally placed there. But he walks it off and shrugs, goes to find the rest of the group.
As you all take a rest, and as you're doing so, somebody is able to look into the room where all of the sand was previously. Looking down the 40-foot drop or so below, you can see a large, deep fissure had opened somewhere far below and had drained all of the sand essentially from this area of the building. But Vought, you recognize this somewhat treacherous area that moves alongside this fissure as the tunnel system beneath this temple that leads to the passages of time. Your next destination on the trail to reaching the tombs of Dashara. And that is where we're going to end for this evening. So, before I let my characters or my players do their outros, just first let me tell you, everyone who tuned in this evening or who may be watching later on in the future, thank you so very much for tuning in, for giving us a watch. Hit the like button, subscribe if you liked what you saw tonight, so you can see more of it in the future. This is session 13 of On the Rise. There will be a few more at least before this campaign comes to a close. So, you guys did a fantastic job, as always. You guys nailed a lot of this role-playing, and again, you guys stepped into the shoes of your characters and really brought each one of them to life in a very vivid way, and your responses and things to everything that you went through tonight. Thank you very much for allowing me to abuse you for the last 4 hours. And hopefully there was a little bit of fun to be had in the mix. So we'll go ahead and start our outros. We will start first with Mike.
Again, Jeremy, I'd just like to thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to play a game underneath you, which I haven't got to do for a while because you haven't been DMing our real life table for a while. So always nice to have it. I don't have a YouTube channel. I don't do a whole lot of things online. So I'm just going to say good evening.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mike, as always, for playing. Yeah, man. I'll be seeing you soon in person. All right. Eli, you're up next.
Well, thank you so much for this session. This is one of the most emotionally gripping games I've played ever. So it's been a lot of fun to play along. I'm Eli Kurtz. I'm the head honcho of the Mythic Gazetteer. We publish stuff currently, mostly Savage World stuff, but I also am the host of a podcast called Jung Hu Hustle, where we watch kung fu movies and then talk about them with the mind toward making a role-playing game from it. Most recently, we watched The Sorcerer and the White Snake, and it was holy shit ridiculous. And yeah, that's where you can find me. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Google+. I have a YouTube channel, but I haven't used it in forever. So yeah, again, thank you so much for letting me play.
Always a pleasure, man. Thank you for coming on. All right. And Jeff, you're next.
Yep, I am Jeff. Since I didn't get to at the start because he didn't exist yet, I am playing Bilal now instead of Khalid, who has suffered a terrible fate. It'll be interesting to see what this game has in store for Bilal and vice versa. I have a YouTube channel called Encounterbalance. If you want to see games I run, you can do so there. I also have a podcast that I do with Jeremy and Chad Nick called The Dudes of Yore. We have 3 episodes out of that so far. Looking to get a 4th one sometime in the near future, hopefully, when we can get a time to record it. But yeah, great game as always.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Yes. And last, no, not last. No, we're not there yet. Getting ahead of myself. Baron, you're up.
Thank you for having me. I think I've said it enough times. I'm from RWD Gaming. Kind of in a standstill with content right now. I'm working on some preliminary stuff for a couple projects I want to go into in 2018. So between Philip Matty and I's setting of Fur and Fury and my upcoming Dresden File, Bright, some would hate to hear me say it, but I can't even think of the name. Never mind. Shadowrun style game. I'm working on that, so hopefully you guys can check that out in the future. But likewise, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. And can't wait to see you guys next month.
Excellent. Baron, always, yeah, I play in a lot of games with you. Luckily, I get the chance to see your beautiful face a lot. So thank you once again for being a part of this campaign. I'm glad you're having a good time playing Bot. He's a very an unusual character. I've never seen a lot of I haven't seen a lot of monsters characters played well, and you're doing a great job. So
definitely not the bread and butter RPG that I've gone for. Definitely some different things to think about. So
that's good. That's good. Okay, and now last, but certainly not least, Trevor.
Good evening, or night, or morning, whatever time you're watching. I feel like I've been in and out of consciousness in this one, so it's starting to get more and more tired the closer it comes to bedtime. My wife did ask me before we started if I wanted coffee. I said, "Yeah, I think I'll be fine." Huge mistake. So I feel like I missed a lot of good opportunity for role play, but because I can't think right now. But there's always next time. I have been away for 2 months, but as we do this more often, I'll get more used to it. I'll get back in the groove. It's been a rough holiday season. That's why we missed last one. While Eli was out having fun, getting married, and having his honeymoon, I was spending every waking moment delivering everybody's junk that they don't need. Amazon, I'm watching you. Anyways, got nothing else to promote other than, local postal service, because I don't have any channels. I'm boring. But thank you for having me, at least.
Absolutely, man. It's always a pleasure.
I am at least tonight, even if I wasn't, the main contributor. I feel it's great to sit here and take notes on the story and listen to everybody else talk. I got like 3 or 4 pages here to reread next time. So I'm not bored. I'm just
yeah, it's been a hell of a couple of months. Well, hell of a half year, at least locally.
Yeah.
So I totally understand, man, and you have done perfectly fine. I didn't even realize that you were that tired until you said something.
I feel
it. Well, then I will go ahead and wrap this up, put a pretty little bow on it, seal it with a kiss. Everyone, thank you so much. I love role-playing games, and campaigns are always a lot of fun. It's really nice to be able to delve deep into everybody's characters and get to know them as real people. And you guys are doing a hell of a job of bringing them to life, which in turn helps the story that we're all telling. And it's fantastic to watch it happen. So thank you to the 5 of you. I appreciate you very, very much. And until next time, guys, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.